Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto becomes Hokage instead of Dannzo part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. I will break the curse. If there is such a thing as peace, then I will find it. I won't give up. Those words resounded with Nagato as he looked into the cerulean eyes of the blonde and whiskered young man in front of him. As Naruto stood in front of him, he no longer saw him as an enemy. Instead, he saw him as a symbol of his past. He could not believe the words Naruto boldly declared. Those were the same words he too uttered during his earlier days. But now it came from the mouth of the man who had just defeated him in combat earlier today. He was soon broken out of his thoughts once Naruto spoke again. Believe in me. I will become the Hokage, and I will make sure that there will be peace in your home Mamegekyo as well. The room was silent. Nagato and Konan couldn't help but be reminded of Yahiko when they saw the young man in front of him. But for Nagato, not only was he reminded of his deceased friend, but he was also reminded of the man he used to be. We studied under the same master. I told you before that we should therefore be able to understand one another. I must admit you're an odd kid, and you even remind me of myself when I was younger. I was just joking then, but you chose a different path. In you I can see a different future. I will believe in you, Naruto Uzumaki, he confessed calmly as both Naruto and Konan looked at the Rinnegan wielder with equally surprised looks. Nagato then began to form hand seals. Konan's eyes widened as she saw the technique her old friend had planned on using. Nagato, that's enough. Please don't do this, she pleaded. Nagato's expression softened as he saw Konan's desperation. He knew this was to be expected. They were the remaining members of the AIM orphans ever since Yahiko died. He knew the technique he planned on doing would kill him, thus leaving Konan as the sole surviving member of the three. Konan, I'm sorry, but this is something I must do. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and this is my way of repenting for my crimes, he confessed, but that did nothing to make Konan feel any better. Instead, tears began to well up in her eyes as she knew there was no changing his mind. In the back, Naruto looked on confused at the argument the two old friends had. What is this technique? He asked. Konan looked towards Naruto as she dried her tears using her Akatsuki cloak. Nagato is the seventh and final pain. His power is ability to control both life and death, she explained sadly. Naruto was absolutely shocked at the power Nagato held with his Rinnegan, but he was also confused. He was unaware of what Nagato's technique could do. All he knew was that in the end it would cost him his own life. As he glanced towards Nagato, he saw the man smiling down on him. I knew I was going to die one day, but quite frankly I never thought it would be like this. Before I die, Naruto, I will give you one final piece of advice. Naruto looked at Nagato as he listened towards the advice of the dying man. Naruto, with my attack in the village, I have no doubt in my mind that Dannzo may use this as an opportunity to take power in Konoha. The man is power-hungry and opportunistic. You must stop him at all costs from becoming Hokage, or else there will be dire consequences, he informed Naruto as the young man nodded. Nagato smiled. He was assured that his fellow student will heed his advice. Naruto, I know you will do what neither I nor Yahiko or Jiraiya-sensei could not. I have full belief that you will be the one to bring peace to the shinobi world as the true child of prophecy. Naruto couldn't help but smile at the words of Nagato. He nodded at the man to assure him that he will finish what he, Yahiko, and Jiraiya started. He will complete their goal and their dream to bring forth an era of peace to the shinobi world. With that final piece of assurance, Nagato began to perform the hand seals required for his technique. Geto, Rinne Tensei no Jutsu, he yelled. Once Nagato began the technique, he was quickly losing his life force. He was growing more and more pale each second, and he was continually losing weight also. Naruto watched in shock at how the jutsu was affecting Nagato. Then from his pocket emerged the main slug summoned Katsuyu. The villagers are all being revived, she informed Naruto in shock. Naruto was surprised at the news. He looked at Nagato and was amazed by the man's actions. He now held a new sense of respect for the man, but he also watched as he sacrificed his own life force to bring back the ones of those he killed. Konan looked on to her friend sadly. Once the technique was done, she ran over to Nagato's side. She checked his vitals. He was alive but barely. She was aware that at this point he only had a minute at most before he departed for the afterlife. Nagato looked up towards Konan's teary face as his head was placed gently on top of her lap. He smiled at the lavender-haired woman. Nagato then began to cough blood as he sensed that his time was close at hand. But before he died, he wished to talk to Konan one final time. Konan, I can now die without any regrets. I know peace will come, but this time by the hands of Naruto. I guess my role in all this is over. I'll make sure to tell Yahiko that you said hi. Maybe now I could keep him company. We'll be waiting for your arrival, but we'd prefer it if you would take your time, he said before finally closing his eyes. Konan held Nagato close to her. She released all of her pent-up emotions ever since the death of Yahiko. In this one moment she felt a mixture of anger, guilt, sadness, and even happiness. Despite her being the final surviving member of the AIM orphans, one look at Nagato's face she could see that he died with a smile on his face. A smile that showed her that he was finally happy. Her conflicted friend was finally at peace with himself and the world. Naruto walked over and placed an arm around the older woman in order to comfort her, as they both grieved for their losses. Konoha. Back in the village of Konoha, the king of hell appeared in the middle of the crater, and the people of the village looked down in fear, wondering what it was about to do. They prepared for the worst as it began to open its large mouth. Unknown to them, the king of hell released the life force of the people deceased in the village. Little by little, the life force of the deceased returned to their bodies as they woke up from what appeared to be their death. The people of Konoha looked in shock as their loved ones and friends began to resurrect in front of them. Among the crowd, Shima cried tears of joy as she hugged her newly revived husband Fukasaku. Everyone looked in awe as the people of Konoha were revived. They wondered what could have caused all this. Later on, Katsuyu began to inform them all of Naruto's encounter with Nagato, and all of Konoha rejoiced and celebrated the name of their new savior and hero, Naruto Uzumaki. Meanwhile, at the same time, in an area between life and death, Kakashi sat by a campfire alongside his deceased father, Tsukumo Hatake. "It seems you've had your own fair share of trouble, son," said the elder Hatake. Kakashi sighed. "I guess you could say that," he replied. "I admit, Kakashi, I never thought we'd both die so young. But not as young as your mother." The two continued to sit in silence for a few moments. "Regardless of everything that happened, you did everything you could. It took me a long time, but I soon learned to understand things from your point of view. You broke the rules for all of our sakes. I'm proud of you now, and I'm proud to be known as your son," Kakashi said sincerely as Tsukumo looked at his son with widened eyes. Then out of nowhere a blue light began to engulf Kakashi. He was nervous as to what was happening, but as he saw his father, the elder man only had a smile on his face. Tsukumo was more than aware of what was happening to his son, and he couldn't be happier. He would be given a second chance. "Goodbye, my son. I hope you find the peace you seek, for much like how I just did. I'm also proud to be known as your father, and I love you, Kakashi," Tsukumo said. He looked at his son disappearing right in front of him. Once Kakashi was gone, Tsukumo stood up from his seat by the campfire. He kicked dirt towards the fire to exterminate it, and once that was over, he began to walk towards an unknown direction. "It looks like I finally get to see you again. You would be so proud of our son," he thought to himself as he walked towards the lone beacon of light within the area filled with darkness. While Tsukumo made his way towards the light, Kakashi woke up to see Choji helping him up. He looked at his surrounding with widened eyes. At one point he was dead, and now he was among the living once more. "What happened?" he asked Choji. The heir of the Akimichi clan merely smiled at the masked jonin. "Naruto happened," he told the man as Kakashi looked at the large man in surprise. His expression soon turned to one of pride upon hearing how his student managed to now become the hero and savior of the village, just like his father Minato. He was stood up, albeit gingerly. He was helped by Choji, but then Kakashi separated from the Chunin. "Thanks for the help, Choji, but I need to go," he said. Before Choji could reply, Kakashi already left in a hurry in search of his blonde student, Mount Myaboku. The great Toad Sage looked at his crystal ball as he watched the conversation of Jiraiya's two former pupils while at the same time tending to Gamabunta's wounds. As it was foretold, he muttered with amazement. "What's going on?" Gamabunta asked. "It's over, Gamabunta. Naruto succeeded," he answered with a smile on his face. Gamabunta looked over at the elder Toad in surprise. He then smiled at the news of Naruto's success. "First it was Jiraiya and then Minato. I wonder how you will hold up compared to those two," Gamabunta wondered with a grin on his face. Konan began to wrap the bodies of both Ihiko and Nagato with her paper. She looked on sadly, but she knew that wherever the two were, they were both happy. She hoped Jiraiya too found his happiness as well. She regretted how things ended with their sensei, and she wished that he would one day forgive her and Nagato for their foolishness. Naruto watched as Konan wrapped the bodies of both Nagato and Yahiko with her paper. "So what are you going to do now?" "I doubt you'll be returning to the Akatsuki," he said. Konan glanced towards Naruto and gave him a reassuring smile. "I'm done with the Akatsuki. Nagato and Yahiko were everything to me, and without them I no longer see a purpose for the group," she admitted. "Nagato and Yahiko's dreams have been entrusted to you. You are now the bearer of both of their dreams, and if Nagato decides to believe in you, then so will I. Amigekyo will help you with your dream. If you should ever need help, just contact me. From now on I will continue our other dream, to protect Amigekyo," Konan continued. Naruto was surprised at the answer of the woman in front of him. "That's good to hear, Konan-san. I believe it's time for Amigekyo to have its first Amikage since the unfortunate reign of the madman Hanzo. Remember, if you should ever need help, do not hesitate to contact me." Naruto nodded, and Konan handed him a bouquet of flowers made from her paper. "This time I pray for you that these will be the flowers of hope that will never die." Konan then began to fade away as she carried the two bodies alongside her. He smiled at the thought of her becoming the new Kage of her village. He believed that she will be the right person to lead Amigekyo away from their bloody past into a new era. He looked towards the sky and breathed out a sigh of relief. It was all finally over, and he was utterly exhausted. As he gazed towards the sky, he couldn't help but remember the times he spent with his sensei Jiraiya. As he continued to think about his sensei, tears unknowingly cascaded down his face. He remembered both his regrets and fondest memories with Jiraiya. "Arigato, Jiraiya-sensei," he silently told himself as he continued to stare up at the sky. He decided it was time for him to show his sensei the respect he deserved, and although he was a super pervert, Jiraiya was still one of the greatest men Naruto had the pleasure of meeting. This was one of Naruto's greatest regrets when it came to his deceased master. He never managed to show how much he truly respected Jiraiya as a man and as a shinobi. He would never again call Jiraiya by the moniker of Erosenin. Now he decided it was time for him to be referred by the title he truly deserved as Jiraiya-sensei. He realized that he appeared to be bratty when it came to Jiraiya and even both Tsunade and the Sandaime Hokage. he decided it was time to change that part of his attitude. Naruto never truly knew what he had until it was gone. He decides never to make that same mistake again. After a few more minutes of silent mourning, Naruto decided it was time to return home. He quickly stood up with his wobbly legs. The fight and conversation he had with Nagato truly left him in an exhausted state. But he pushed through as he ran across the forests around the Land of Fire to return to his village. Naruto continued to walk towards the dense forest outside of Konoha. Due to his stress, he accidentally stumbled, but before he could fall flat on his face, he felt someone catch him. As he opened his eyes, he realized it was none other than his sensei Kakashi. He smiled to know that Nagato truly did revive the people of Konoha. He had just lost Jiraiya and he could not handle losing his other sensei. Good job, Kakashi told Naruto as he carried him on his back. The message may have been short, but Naruto knew from the tone Kakashi used that he was proud of him. Just hang on, Kakashi told Naruto as he ran towards the village. Soon the two arrived to the front of the village only to find how the people of Konoha gathered to await his arrival. And upon seeing their new hero, all of Konoha cheered for Naruto. They've all been waiting for your return, Kakashi informed his student. Naruto looked in surprise as he jumped off Kakashi's back. He walked into the large crowd and everyone gathered around him in order to congratulate him on his victory, and to thank him for his selfless actions. Children also flocked to Naruto, and they each asked him questions concerning his encounter with Pain. Among the crowd, Iruka, Ebisu and Konohamaru looked down happily at the realization of Naruto's dream to be acknowledged by the village. Iruka reminisced about his past with Naruto, and how the happy-go-lucky ninja managed to grow to be one of Konoha's greatest heroes. Towards the back of the large crowd, Fukasaku and Shima also watched happily as Naruto was finally given the respect he deserved. Near the front of the group, Hinata watched teary-eyed as she saw her crush survive his battle against Pain. Thank Kami, you're safe, Naruto-kun, she thought happily as she wiped away her tears. While Naruto was answering the questions of the children around him, he noticed a certain pink-haired kunoichi approaching his direction. Sakura-chan, he said with a wide smile on his face. His smile quickly disappeared as she hit him on the head with her chakra-enhanced fist. Why do you always have to be so rash, you idiot? He winced in pain, but it would not last as the feeling of pain was soon replaced by a feeling of comfort and warmth. He could barely utter a word when he realized that she was hugging him. He returned the gesture and they basked in each other's warmth. The crowd watched at the display of affection shown by both Naruto and Sakura. Everyone smiled at the hug. Nearly everyone was aware about the friendship and connection the two ninjas had with one another. Thank you, Sakura whispered in Naruto's ear. Naruto smiled but also felt a pain in his heart. This was everything he always wanted, but yet he had a feeling this was nothing more than a friendly gesture. Despite his love for Sakura, he believed that her love was reserved for Sasuke. Naruto couldn't help but feel sadness and jealousy at the thought of Sakura being with Sasuke. But he decided a long time ago that he will not stand in the way of Sakura's happiness. He loved her too much for him to interfere. I'm probably just overthinking this hug. She probably still loves the team, Naruto thought bitterly. Naruto, as much as he loved Sakura, however, will not get in her way between her happiness. If her happiness was with Sasuke, then he will bear a heavy heart but accept it. He had no choice in the matter. He was too selfless for his own good. Soon the two separated and both had blushed, adorning their faces. Naruto smiled as he saw Sakura's flustered state. He only wished that maybe one day she could reciprocate the feelings he had for her. Naruto then shook his head from the depressing thoughts. He decided there was no need for such sadness. He smiled once more at the people and they all decided to celebrate the fact that Konoha survives once again. Even with the most unfortunate circumstances, the village and its community always seems to stand stronger than ever. As the people of Konoha celebrated, they didn't notice a spy within their midst. Up in the trees overlooking the village, a man who resembled a Venus flytrap looked down in shock at the events which played out before him. I never thought Pain would be defeated. I must return and inform Madara-sama, he muttered before vanishing into the ground. During the celebrations of Konoha, Naruto looked on confused. He was accompanied by both Sakura and Kakashi during this event. Sakura-chan, where's Tsunade? He asked the pink-haired kunoichi. Both Sakura and Kakashi were surprised to hear that Naruto didn't call her Bachan. Sakura then looked towards Naruto with a frown on her face. Naruto, she's in her own personal tent. She's in a coma. She used Katsuyu to protect the whole village, and she hasn't woken up ever since. I don't know when she will be back on her feet again. Naruto looked at her with a devastated expression. Please, Sakura-chan, take me to her, he asked. Sakura nodded and led Naruto and Kakashi to the tent Tsunade was held at. Upon entering, they noticed Tsunade carrying after the last remaining Sannin. Shizen was surprised to see the three visitors. Could everyone please give me a second with Tsunade? Naruto asked seriously. The three nodded and respected Naruto's demand. Naruto walked over to the bed where Tsunade laid. He managed to get a closer look at the woman, and he gasped at what he saw. The Tsunade he saw appeared weak, fragile and wrinkled. This was a far cry from the strong, beautiful woman he knew. He was saddened to see the state she was in. He held one of her hands and prayed to Kami that she pull through this. I already lost Jiraiya-sensei. I can't lose you too. Please keep fighting, he told her. But as he saw the state Tsunade was in, he suddenly remembered Nagato's words of advice to him. This could prove to be an opportunity for Dannzo to take over as the next Hokage. He clenched his fist and realized the dirty and underhanded tactics Dannzo could use. he could use the invasion as an attack towards Tsunade's reputation and character. He would not allow this, and he would not allow Dannzo to become Hokage. He glanced towards Tsunade once more and leaned over to kiss her forehead. Tsunade, by the time you wake up there will be a new Hokage. And there is no way in hell it's going to be that. Dannzo Team Naruto assured her with a confident tone on his voice. War Council Room. A few days pass, and at this point in time within the Hokage monument was a secret conference room in which a meeting was taking place. A meeting that would determine the future of the village and its people. Inside the room was a moderately large conference table. At the head of it sat the daimyo of the Land of Fire, and on the right side of the daimyo sat the highest-ranking members of Konoha's ninja society. First were the three elders of Konoha. The three were none other than Hamura Midokado, Koharu Yutane and Dannzo Shimura. Further along were the ANBU commander known as Bear, and the Jonin commander Shikaku Nara. On their opposite sides sat the 5 advisors of the daimyo. There was a tense and uncomfortable silence within the council room until Hamura broke the silence. Daimyo-sama, we still plan on continuing our efforts to work with the other countries to deal with the terrorist threat known as Akatsuki. Then one of the daimyo's financial advisors then said, with the recent events concerning the village, Land of Fire will do anything within our capabilities to help rebuild Konoha. But before then we need to set up a budget and consider the strain on the other countries. Dannzo was not at all impressed with the current topic at hand. Sensing his opportunity, he interjected and declared, this is currently the least of our concerns. What we need now is leadership, and with Tsunade's coma we are lacking in that department. I say we need a new Hokage. So Dannzo, it has come to this, Shikaku thought as he eyed the old war hawk. He expected tactics such as this from the man, and he was not the least bit surprised considering the fact that Dannzo has been trying unsuccessfully for years to make himself the Hokage of Konoha. The room was now dead silent. The thought of electing a new Hokage was rather unimaginable at this point. Couldn't we simply wait for Tsunade-sama to awaken from her coma? Asked the daimyo. Unfortunately, my lord, Dannzo is right. Without a Hokage we are unable to make decisions concerning the village. Besides, Tsunade-sama is also held accountable to the destruction of our village, answered Koharu with a straight face. The daimyo nodded his head in understanding. He placed his right hand across his chin and adopted a thinking pose as he stated, I would personally love to have Jiraiya as the Rokudaime Hokage, but as we know he had just unfortunately passed away a month ago. Dannzo then saw another opportunity to appoint himself in power. But with Shikaku being as aware and attentive as he was, noticed the gleam in Danzo's lone visible eye, and before Dannzo could nominate himself, Shikaku decided to intervene. I nominate Kakashi Hatake, he said. The daimyo smiled and was impressed with this nomination. The name Kakashi Hatake was one that was known far and wide, as the man was renowned for being a once-in-a-generation talent, the likes of Orochimaru and Itachi Uchiha. Oh, hold the son of the White Fang, eh? Why not? What do you all think? Asked the daimyo. Murmurs and whispers then erupted among the council room as they thoroughly discussed the candidacy of the legendary copy Nin for the Hokage position. He is well known, powerful, and respected, that's all true, but he is also very young, mentioned one of the advisors. Shikaku was not at all affected. The yondaime was even younger, he answered. Another advisor then spoke and asked another question. Who was his teacher? Shikaku smirked. Everything was falling into place and working against Dannzo, the yondaime Hokage, he answered, causing the advisors to further adopt a more impressed opinion on the young gray-haired jonin. Among the visitors none were more impressed than the daimyo himself, Kakashi Hatake, a student of the yondaime who in turn was a student of Jiraiya, while Jiraiya was a student of the sandaime. What a fine lineage. What an excellent choice, he declared with an excited smile on his face. Upon hearing those words, Dannzo snapped and banged his hand on the table. The sandaime and his teachings are the reason Konoha is in the state it is today, he boldly declared. The room was now dead silent once more. All eyes were now directed towards Dannzo himself for his shocking statement. As he noticed their attention all being directed to him, he cleared his throat and confidently eyed each and every member of the council. Dannzo calmed himself before speaking once again. Allow me to explain. Konoha is a shell of what it once was. We as a village failed to reach the potential we hold, and it is due to this excessive belief in the will of fire. This belief and ideology was formed by the first 2 Hokages and preached by the sandaime. This belief has done nothing but weaken our ninjas. A ninja should be cold, calculating and ruthless. There should be no room for forgiveness, pity or weakness. Those only lead to betrayals and opportunities for our enemies to strike us down when we least expect it, he claimed. Surely you don't believe that, Dannzo-sama? Pleadingly asked one of the advisors as Dannzo turned his attention to the man. He shook his head in disappointment. The ninja world is simple: kill or be killed. I assure all of you that if given the chance, Kumo, Iwa and Kiri would jump at the opportunity to rid themselves of us. Even Suna and Otogekure could attack us at any moment. Suna has betrayed us before and there is nothing stopping them from doing so once more. While for Otogekure they were ruled by Orochimaru, he has banded with Suna to attack us before causing the death of the sandaime. We live in a cruel world, everyone. And as a man who has taken part in and survived countless wars, I assure you this is the true life of a ninja, he continued as they stared at him with a mixture of fear, awe and with some even feeling disdain for the man. Dannzo is a paranoid man, thought Shikaku as he gritted his teeth in annoyance concerning the man's speech and views. What we need is a strong, calculating and daring Hokage, and I assure each of you that I am that man. I will be the man that will make Konoha great once more. For too long we have been downgraded towards being the laughing stock of the Five Nations. We were nearly defeated by Orochimaru and his forces while also being single-handedly destroyed by Pain. Interestingly enough, it is well known that Orochimaru was a former student of the Sandaime. But I also have knowledge that Pain was a former student of none other than the deceased Jiraiya, claimed Dannzo as the eyes in the council room widened upon hearing that revelation. Soon there were murmurs and whispers once more, this time concerning Dannzo's points. They were now appearing to be more and more relevant with their current situation. As Dannzo saw this, he released a small smirk. Everything was going according to plan, and all he needed now was the icing on the cake. My fellow councilmen, I promised to make Konoha a name to be feared once more. No longer will we be ridiculed and disrespected. The time for that is over. The rise of Konoha is close at hand once more, and I plan to lead that revolution. With that in mind, I nominate myself for. Before Dannzo could finish his statement, the doors of the room were barged open as a figure suddenly yelled, "Stop! This man must not be named Hokage," while pointing a finger to Dannzo in an accusing manner. The attention of the council members suddenly shifted from Dannzo to the doors. As they glanced towards that direction, the daimyo and the advisors were confused as to who the intruder was. Meanwhile, the ninjas of Konoha quickly recognized him as the village's hero, Naruto Uzumaki. Upon seeing another intrusion, but this being in the form of the village hero, Dannzo gritted his teeth and attempted to calm his increasing anger. Meanwhile, Hamura quickly rose from his seat. "How did you find this place? This is off limits. Leave now or you could be punished severely," he angrily declared. Naruto didn't flinch nor back down despite the volume of his voice. "I managed to find this area due to my senjutsu's sensory abilities, Hamura-san. Once I saw the daimyo arrive in the front gates of Konoha, I had a feeling that Dannzo would pull something like this," did he answer calmly. The daimyo was intrigued and curious about this new character. "Excuse me, young man, but who might you be?" he asked. The daimyo was intrigued and curious about this new character. "Excuse me, young man, but who might you be?" he asked. Naruto looked the daimyo in the eye and bowed slightly. "My name is Naruto Uzumaki, daimyo-sama," he said. The daimyo's initial interest in the intruder significantly increased as he was now identified as the so-called hero of Konoha. Upon his arrival in Konoha, he has heard of his exploits, and quite frankly, he was surprised to see someone so young manage to accomplish the feats he has done. "I apologize for my initial intrusion, daimyo-sama, but I am here for one simple reason. Dannzo Shimura must not be Hokage," said Naruto as the daimyo raised a single eyebrow due to confusion. "Oh, and who should be the Hokage, Uzumaki-san?" Naruto cleared his throat and stood up confidently for what he was about to say next. "With all due respect, daimyo-sama, I, Naruto Uzumaki, nominate myself for the position of Rokudaime Hokage." This statement further added to the surprise of all the council members present. Naruto noticed the looks he was being given. They bordered mostly towards confusion, disbelief, and reluctance. He could see it in their eyes. They didn't think he was worthy of the job, at least not yet. "I implore you, daimyo-sama, do not be tricked by Dannzo. The man is not worthy of the position of Hokage. He will sully the names and legacies of those who paved the way for him in future generations. I would rather die than see this man be chosen as Hokage," Naruto exclaimed bravely. The daimyo was curious towards Naruto's views. He was unsure as to why he felt so strongly about all of this. "Why is that exactly, Uzumaki-san? What do you have against Dannzo-san?" he asked, demanding for answers. Naruto sighed as he glared at Dannzo. His mind was conflicted at the moment. On one hand, he was well aware of Dannzo's shady dealings in the past, one of which being with Hanzo, thus leading to the birth of the Akatsuki. But if he did accuse him of those past transgressions without the necessary evidence in front of him, then his own credibility may suffer. He instead decided to attempt to convince the daimyo using other methods. He hoped they work. "Daimyo-sama, Dannzo's beliefs contradict everything Konoha and the past Hokages have stood for. The will of fire is no weakness. It is a strength, form of ideology and belief which the Shodai Hokage, Nidaime Hokage, Sandaime Hokage, and Yandaime Hokage died for. If we appoint Dannzo as Hokage along with his beliefs, it is as if we are spitting on the grave of the past Hokages themselves. Dannzo's ideal form of society for Konoha would be a disgrace and a blatant sign of disrespect towards our past heroes," he declared quite proudly as a few council members nodded their head in agreement. Dannzo snorted after hearing Naruto's explanation. "This is what I mean, daimyo-sama. This delusional and idealistic belief in the will of fire has led to us being weak and exposed. It has led us to nothing but destruction and humiliation for Konoha. Need I also remind you that Hiruzen spared Orochimaru when he was initially discovered to have been conducting illegal experiments? Had it been me, I would not have had any hesitation to strike down Orochimaru. But due to Hiruzen's compassion, we were soon attacked and embarrassed by the snake himself, especially during his joint attack with Suna. It is clear to all of us that I am the Hokage Konoha needs. A Hokage not afraid to instill fear into the hearts of our enemies. If I am chosen, Konoha will not be subjugated by easily avoidable tragedies and mishaps such as the Orochimaru incident," he rebutted passionately. The daimyo raised a hand to silence Dannzo. His interest in Naruto was increasing. He glanced towards Naruto once more. "Tell me, Naruto, who are your teachers?" asked the fire daimyo with calculating eyes. "Kakashi Hatake had been my Jonin sensei, and I was also the apprentice of Jiraiya of the Sannin." "Daimyo-sama," answered Naruto as the daimyo and his advisors nodded, clearly impressed with his background. The council members nodded at both arguments for their case to be Hokage. Each had valid points, but at this point in time the advisors were recommending Dannzo due to his experience and reputation among the 5 nations, 2 things Naruto seemed to lack. Naruto noticed this quite easily, and he glanced towards Dannzo only to see the man appear to lift his head triumphantly. With no other choice, Naruto decided to have one final argument against Dannzo. He closed his eyes and breathed in to calm himself. Once he opened them again, he addressed the council with a passion and bravado common to him, and him alone. Compassion, understanding and peace are not weaknesses, Daimyo-sama, they are strengths. I must confess to you all about my final conversation with the man you all know as Pain, but a man I know as Nagato. If I had the same beliefs as Dannzo, I probably would have killed the man when I had the chance, but I didn't. I stuck to my morals and spoke with the man to understand his side of the story. In the end, he told me of his life and his hardships. I could understand why he took the path he did, but I managed to make him trust in me, and that is why we now see the people he initially killed in his attack revived by the same man himself. He wished to atone for his sins, and because of that ninjas such as Choza Akimichi, Shizen and Kakashi Hatake were brought back to life. It was my belief in understanding and attaining peace that I managed to convince him to repent. He left me his dream to bring peace to the shinobi world, and I intend to do just that as the child of prophecy. The fire daimyo sat down in his chair and acquired a thinking pose. Both candidates had logical and strong arguments for their case. The daimyo weighed the pros and cons in his head concerning both candidates. After assessing the situation in his mind, he had come to acquire a decision, but before then he wanted to know the opinions of the other members within the table. One of his advisors was the first to express his opinion. Daimyo-sama, in my humble opinion, I believe Dannzo-san is the correct choice in this situation. Not to say that Uzumaki-san is not fit to be Hokage, but rather he is not fit to be Hokage yet. I believe Dannzo is the logical choice for the Rokudaime Hokage, but we could place Uzumaki-san in training to be Hokage. I believe he is a better candidate for the Nanodaime position instead. The daimyo nodded, taking his considerations into account. Another advisor then piled on to the analysis. I agree with him, Daimyo-sama. Naruto-san is still 16 years old. Dannzo is in his later years and he has a vaster amount of life experience. He is also more well equipped to handle the duties of the Hokage rather than Naruto-san. And although Naruto-san's skill level is at the Kage level, so is Dannzo's. All in all, I believe that Naruto-san is too raw and unrefined. He has the potential to be an excellent Hokage for the future, but I do not believe he is ready to be Hokage at such an early age, he added on as Naruto began to look less and less confident, whereas Dannzo was complete opposite. Any more opinions on the matter? Asked the daimyo. Shikaku raised his hand and he was allowed to speak by the daimyo. Personally, I believe we should choose Naruto as Hokage. I understand all your worries about the young man's experience and maturity, but I assure you that Naruto is among the hardest workers I have ever seen, and he could easily adapt himself into any situation. He is a resilient and determined young man, and I fully believe he has what it takes to be a great Hokage, said Shikaku, surprising the council members. They had not expected one of the men with highest IQs in Konoha to side with the young man. Meanwhile, Naruto looked towards Shikaku with a grateful smile. The Nara clan had nodded to Naruto, signifying his belief in the young man. The blonde Jinchuriki seemed to have calmed down due to Shikaku's vote of confidence. Sensing that all opinions have already been discussed, the daimyo decided it was time to announce his decision. Naruto then began to sweat nervously. This was do or die for him. If he was chosen, then he would be Hokage. If Dannzo was chosen, the man was likely to punish him in some way or another due to his interference in the council meeting. The man will also hinder his plans for world peace if he were to be the one chosen as Hokage. He would not allow the War Hawk to lead Konoha into a future of war, grief, and destruction. The daimyo sat in his chair unmoving, his eyes studying both candidates without a trace of emotion on his face. He took all opinions, arguments, situations, and beliefs into consideration for his final decision. He noticed Dannzo's overconfident stance compared to Naruto's slightly nervous posture. Dannzo was smirking triumphantly. He already believed that it was inevitable. It was now his destiny to become the Hokage of Konoha. The long wait is almost over for the bandaged man. The daimyo then broke the silence. I have come to a final decision, he said as the council members each held their breaths for what was to come. The daimyo then released a smirk and said the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato will be Naruto Uzumaki. The council for one final time was silent once more. Dannzo's lone visible eye widened, and from his anger he gripped his walking stick strongly, causing it to crack slightly. The advisors quickly broke the silence, attempting to dissuade the daimyo from his decision. Meanwhile, Naruto stood at the same spot, unmoving but with a happy yet bewildered expression. I'm Hokage. I can't believe this. I am the Hokage, he thought to himself. But he was soon broken from his reverie as Dannzo quickly roared his opinion. You cannot be serious, daimyo-sama. You are making a grave mistake with this decision. What would the other countries think about us if we choose a mere teenager to represent our village, let alone a genin? I sense nothing wrong with that, Dannzo-san. If I am not mistaken, Kiri and Suna had also inducted Kages around Uzumaki-san's age. I'm certain they were even younger than Uzumaki-san, the daimyo answered calmly. But daimyo-sama, Dannzo tried to argue only to be cut off by the man himself. Enough, everybody. I have made my decision and I will not change it. I have faith in Uzumaki-san and I believe Konoha is heading towards a bright future with him on the helm, said the daimyo, effectively silencing everybody. His tone was authoritative, and it held no room for any form of negotiation. Even Dannzo reluctantly decided to keep quiet as not to further anger the man. The Lord of the Land of Fire then stood up from his seat and walked over to the bewildered Naruto, who sported a large smile on his face. And nobody could blame him since he was achieving one of his dreams, especially at such an early age. The daimyo couldn't help but smile back. The boy's enthusiasm and cheerful nature was quick to rub off onto others. As they now stood face to face, both nodded to each other as a sign of respect. Then he smiled before asking, "Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, accept the position of Rokudaime Hokage?" "Hi, Daimyo-sama. I accept," he eagerly answered as he shook the hands of Daimyo. "Very well then. As the Daimyo of Hai no Kuni, I appoint you, Naruto Uzumaki, as the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato," replied the Daimyo. Afterwards, Naruto was quickly introduced by the Daimyo to the council members as the new Hokage. Despite still recovering from their shock, the council members clapped for Naruto. Everyone except for the old warhawk, Dannzo, stayed silent during the rest of the ordeal as he carefully hid his emotions. Instead, he eerily watched and listened to the rest of the council meeting. With all of this now over and behind us, I am happy to say that Konoha now welcomes a new age with the reign of the Rokudaime Hokage. With a new Hokage in Konoha, the village must celebrate this momentous occasion, said the daimyo quite eagerly. "I agree, Daimyo-sama. We must have a formal induction and announcement soon for the people. The induction of our new Hokage could increase the current morale of the people of Konoha," answered the elderly Hamura. "Excellent. We must prepare for momentous occasion. I believe we could prepare the village within 3 days for the celebration," the daimyo said as the Konoha representatives nodded their heads. He then looked at Naruto. "As for your induction into office, I will need you to write a speech. Will you need anything for your induction ceremony?" he continued as he directed his attention to the whiskered young man. Naruto shook his head. "Very well, Hokage-sama. 3 days from now I expect you all prepared for the induction ceremony. I need ANBU to call in the whole population of Konoha to watch in front of the Hokage's tower as Uzumaki-san is announced as Tsunade-sama's successor. We will also keep the purpose of the event a secret, and nobody shall know about Naruto's induction until the day itself," ordered the daimyo. Everyone in the room nodded their heads. "Now if there is nothing else, then everyone is dismissed," said the daimyo as the council members all began to stand up from their seats one by one. Dannzo was the first to get up and leave. Naruto noticed that and believed that he was likely going to one of his hidden route bases. But as Naruto saw the daimyo and his advisors begin to pack up their papers and leave, he decided to say a few final words. "Thank you, Daimyo-sama. You will not regret it," he said with a smile. The daimyo then waved to Naruto and placed a hand on his shoulder and told him, "It was no problem, Hokage-sama. I have placed a lot of trust and faith in you, and I am sure you will deliver," he replied before exiting the office as well alongside his advisors. Soon the representatives of Konoha also left. The elders Koharu and Hamura were the first to leave, but before then they extended their congratulations to Naruto. During that small conversation, they also formally introduced themselves as the Hokage's personal advisors. Next was the ANBU commander. The masked man congratulated him for his promotion as well. But before the commander left, he ran one thing over the newly inducted Hokage. "Hokage-sama, before I leave I must inform you of the customary 4-man ANBU bodyguard squad designated to protect him," he told the young man. "Of course, tell me about this bodyguard squad, Commander," Naruto ordered as the commander nodded. "Hokage-sama, it is required for the Hokage to be guarded at all times, and so due to this the Hokage is given 2 certain bodyguard groups, the Hokage Guard Platoon and the 4-man ANBU Bodyguard Quad. The 4-man ANBU squad dedicated to your protection, they include among the best ANBU has to offer, and they will act as your shadow. They are assigned to protect you through the shadows, and their area of protection is around Konoha's premises, especially within the tower. They also act as messengers and also bodyguards for the Hokage's family," he explained as Naruto nodded, impressed over the security of the Hokage. "Tell me more about my own squad, Commander." "Well, unfortunately with a new Hokage comes a new squad, and with that I must recruit your new team for you. Hopefully I will have them by in a few days," replied the commander stoically. "Of course, I look forward to meet my team." "Thank you, Commander," Naruto replied back as the commander bowed and vanished via a plume of smoke. Now the last remaining people in the council room was Naruto and Shikaku. The Jonin commander also made his way to Naruto with a small smile on his face as he too placed a hand on the young man's broad shoulder. He only had one simple message for his son's friend. "Congratulations, kid. Minato would be proud of you. In some ways you remind me of your father," he said before walking out of the room. Naruto stood there bewildered about the knowledge of Shikaku. If he knew, he wondered how many more people knew of his true heritage. Naruto was suddenly broken off from his thoughts once he heard the doors shut. He was now all alone in the office, and he was finally given peace and silence. In this time of solitude, only then did it truly sink into Naruto that he was the Hokage of Konoha. His life truly has taken a major turn in the past couple of days. He has achieved 2 of his life goals. He was now acknowledged and respected by the people of Konoha, and he was now the Hokage, but also the youngest Hokage in Konoha's history at the age of 16. Even his father was 5 years older than him when he became Hokage at 21. He relished the joy he felt. A small smile graced his face, but despite the size of the smile, for once in a long time it was a true smile, not a smile to hide his pain, sadness, or suffering. It was a smile which truly reflected the young man's happiness. He had now completed his main dream. and all his hard work and sacrifice has now culminated into this one joyous occasion. Not too long after he walked out of the room without uttering a single word, he climbed to the top of the Hokage's monument, and stood on top of his father's head as he gazed at the setting sun. The orange sky looked beautiful to Naruto. Remembering that he had to prepare for his induction ceremony within 3 days, he quickly summoned both Fukasaku and Shima. The two toads popped up next to Naruto, and he went on to explain the situation to the two of them. Both were pleasantly surprised to hear how Naruto was named the Rokudaime Hokage, but the real reason Naruto called them was to ask for help concerning a new outfit. Naruto decided that since he was now being chosen as Hokage, he also needed a new change of clothes to signify a change in himself. It was time for him to mature and grow up if he were to lead the whole village. The two toads smiled at the sight of an all-orange Hokage, but they shook their heads from that thought. Naruto instead explained to both Fukasaku and Shima the type of materials he will need and the new clothes he will need for his induction as Hokage. The two toads were more than happy to help Naruto. Soon both returned to Mount Mayaboku to prepare Naruto's new outfit. Once again Naruto was left to his own thoughts. He continued to watch the sky, but no longer due to the setting sun, and instead he watched the stars in awe. Jiraiya-sensei, Hokage Jiji-2-san, if only you could see me now. I will make you all proud, he silently thought to himself before deciding to enjoy the view and watch the sunset over his home, the home he would now lead, protect and fight for as Hokage. Unknown Akatsuki hideout. Within a dark and damp cave, a man resembling a Venus flytrap sprouted out from the ground. The man wore a black robe with red clothes, and upon arriving in the area he noticed 2 other men wearing the same outfit. Zetsu, you have finally arrived. Now tell me of Pain and Konoha, demanded a man wearing an orange spiral mask. The one known as Zetsu then recognized the two. The first was Madara Uchiha, while the second, more silent one in the back who resembled a shark, was Kisame Hashigaki. Zetsu nodded and approached the two. He then gave them a detailed report about the battle which took place in Konoha along with the events which transpired after the battle. By the end of it all, both Madara and Kisame were bewildered by the fact that Pain was defeated, and by Naruto no less. Madara also grit his teeth at the loss of 2 more members within the organization. Pain had died restoring the lives he killed in Konoha, while Konan defected from the group. What of the Hokage? Madara asked suddenly. With the Godaime in a coma, I heard rumors that there is going to be a new Hokage. I delved a little deeper and the fingers all point towards Dannzo. We have reason to suspect that Dannzo may be the Rokudaime Hokage. Madara-sama, answered Zetsu calmly. Knowing the man, I wouldn't be surprised if he was chosen, Madara muttered as he massaged his temples. I must admit, this Naruto kid is becoming more and more of a pain in my backside. He has constantly put a wrench in our plans. Or at least tried, he continued, huffing in annoyance. Madara attempted to calm himself to make rational decisions concerning the following days, since it was becoming apparent that his plans were not coming along as smoothly as he would have liked. After composing himself, Madara looked towards his 2 recruits. Kisame, I need you to go and hunt down the Hachibi. You must succeed where Sasuke and his team failed. As for you, Zetsu, I need you to return to Konoha and continue your spying on the Hokage matter. I need to know who is chosen, he ordered with authority, as both Akatsuki members nodded and disappeared just as quickly to do as they were told. As Madara was the last one remaining inside the secret cave, he decided his next course of actions. The Uchiha sighed as he thought to himself, it appears I need to have a small family reunion. With that in his mind, he too vanished, using his time and space ninjutsu to form a portal to transport himself from one place to another. Somewhere in Konoha, Dannzo was walking around Konoha's tented areas with a no-nonsense attitude. The man was not in a good mood, and quite frankly it was understandable. He had lost out in his bid for the Hokage position once more. As he looked back at it, he could understand losing to the likes of the Sandaime. The man was his friend and a student of the Shodai and Nidaime Hokage. Hiruzen was also known far and wide as the god of shinobi. Him being chosen as Hokage was understandable, although it pained Dannzo he could see why the man was chosen instead of him. Then there was his successor, the Yandaime Hokage, one of Konoha's greatest hero and a man who won the 3rd Shinobi War single-handedly. He was a genius and a prodigy for his time, and once more Dannzo could see why the man was chosen over him as Hokage. He did not like it, but there was no shame losing to a man such as the Yandaime. Next was the Godaime Hokage, the princess of Konoha and a third of the legendary Sannin. As the granddaughter of the Shodai and a student of the Sandaime, she was born into what could be considered as Konoha royalty. She soon stepped out of the shadows of her ancestors and mentors to become the greatest medical ninja of all time. Once again Dannzo did not appreciate losing the position of Hokage, but at least he lost it to a ninja of her repute. But now this time it was unacceptable. He lost to a mere child, not even an adult. The young man had only just started making a name for himself, and he was now chosen as Hokage over him. The Uzumaki lacked experience and knowledge on how to run Konoha as the Hokage. He clenched his fist harder as he continued to recall the events a few days ago. This time he felt shame in his loss. This was an embarrassment for him to be defeated by a mere child. Dannzo soon realized that he was closing in towards his intended destination. He now stood in front of a rather large brown tent with Hyuga clan flags on sides of the entrance to the tent. He went inside, and upon entering he noticed various Hyuga elders patiently waiting for him. The tent consisted of 10 Hyuga elders, each of them looking as old as Dannzo. They were all sitting behind a large table which served to be somewhat similar to a jury box. Dannzo knew that this meeting with the Hyuga elders had to be perfect for him if he were to impeach Naruto. A man known as Hiroshi Hyuga calmly directed his attention towards the bandaged war veteran in front of him and away from the rest of the Hyuga elders. He was the representative of the whole group. "Why did you wish to meet with us, Dannzo-sama?" he asked suspiciously as he carefully studied the warhawk. "I will go straight down to business, Hiroshi. I am more than aware of all of your growing disdain towards Hayashi, and I am aware of how you are all preparing to overthrow his position as clan head," Dannzo calmly said as the 10 Hyuga elders all had angered and shocked looks on their faces. Dannzo was up to date with the news in Konoha, especially with feuds within the clans. He always knew he could use this as leverage one day, and so he dedicated one team of root soldiers for each clan in Konoha. From his spies in the Hyuga clan he managed to learn that the Hyuga elders were losing their belief, trust and faith in the current head of the clan, Hayashi Hyuga. Recently Hayashi has been more forgiving and compassionate towards the branch family, and he was fighting against the Hyuga clan's traditions, and for the Hyuga clan tradition was one of the most vital aspects of their existence. Not to mention the fact that the tradition Hayashi was fighting against was the most important one in the clan's historic background. The current Hyuga clan head was fighting to merge both the branch and main family together. This was an inconceivable act for the Hyuga elders. Growing up, the elders in the Hyuga clan were strictly traditionalists. But ever since Hayashi witnessed Naruto's battle against his nephew Neji, Hayashi was changing his ways and his views towards the clan, and this was simply unacceptable for the elders. Traditions were there for a reason. These customs were like laws and rules for their clan, and thus it should be upheld and never broken. But at the moment Hayashi was doing what no other leader in clan history had done. He was challenging the customs of their clan. Ever since then the elders have grown rather distant with the clan head. In the past they were on good terms with the Mandu, but that was when Hayashi resembled the way they viewed a Hyuga leader should be. Now however they no longer held the same respect for the man. He was becoming a burden for them, and they were more than willing to rid themselves of this burden. They have been plotting for the last year on how to rid themselves of Hayashi without arousing the suspicion of others. But it seems despite their best attempts at keeping a low profile, someone still managed to learn their true intentions. Hiroshi gritted his teeth and banged his fist into the table. "How do you know of this, Dannzo? Tell us," he demanded impatiently. Dannzo remained calm, not even fazed by Hiroshi's sudden outburst. "It's quite simple, old friend. I have roots stationed practically everywhere. I have eyes and ears all around the village, and all around the land of fire as well. Information in itself could be considered a weapon much like the sword or the spear," he explained. "You and I were never friends, Dannzo. What do you really want? Why did you really come here?" "Hiroshi, I didn't come here to fight or blackmail any of you. Instead I came here to offer you something that could benefit the both of us." Hiroshi looked intrigued at Dannzo. "Then speak, Dannzo. Tell us of this offer," he said. Dannzo cleared his throat before he addressed the Hyuga clan's elders. "Before I tell you my offer I must inform you all about groundbreaking news. Tsunade-sama is no longer the Hokage. The daimyo has found a replacement for her," he explained. Hiroshi and the other elders within the camp all looked surprised at the news. "I assume the Hokage is you, Dannzo," he said in a questioning tone. Truthfully, as he thought about, he could not grasp any other possible candidate for the position of Hokage. And if there was, he couldn't see Dannzo not finding a way to force the decision to go his way. But Dannzo shook his head. "The Rokudaime Hokage is Naruto Uzumaki," he said, full of disdain. The elders all looked down at Dannzo with widened eyes and shocked expressions on their faces. The elders were not particularly fond of Naruto, even despite his recent success as a hero for the village. The elders despise Naruto for one key reason. The reason is because of how he is the catalyst of the current situations with the Hyuga clan. Naruto was the one to change and inspire Hayashi to fight for the rights of the branch family. Had it not been for him, then Hayashi would have likely remained the way he was prior to Naruto's battle with Neji. Hiroshi also realized that Naruto is now proving to be a potentially harmful component in their plot. With Naruto now being armed with his current position as Hokage, the elders would not be surprised if the boy were to intervene with their plans and with Hyuga clan affairs. Naruto, much like Hayashi, is a strong supporter of merging both families. And with this revelation, the goal of the Hyuga clan's elders seemed much more difficult to attain, especially with Naruto's new role and influence in the mix. Dannzo had to suppress a grin as he noticed the frantic looks of the elders. They were panicking about the wrench Naruto unintentionally threw in their plans. But with Dannzo being the opportunist that he was, he knew he could use this for his own advantage. "This is why I came here to give you all an offer," he said as the elders all stopped their bickering and panicking to listen to Danzo's possible solution. "I believe we could all help each other out. I want to rid myself of Naruto to become the Hokage, and you all want to rid yourselves of Hayashi to restore the Hyuga clan to its former glory," he continued as the elders all nodded in confirmation. "I am currently forming a plan to make these two goals of ours come true, but for that I will need your help." "Name for demands, Dannzo," Hiroshi exclaimed loudly, but Dannzo once again remained unaffected. "All I want is for your support for when I become the Hokage and the caged bird seal," he said calmly as the elders looked at Dannzo with disbelief. They wondered why on earth he would need the Hyuga clan's seal. "Why do you need our seal, Dannzo?" asked one of the elders as he eyed Dannzo suspiciously. The elder also summoned his Byakugan to see if the man would be honest in his answer. "I simply need it to ensure loyalty from my soldiers en route, With it I could rest assured that my members will remain obedient towards myself. I have already placed a seal on them to refrain them from giving out information about myself, adding this will keep them loyal and obedient to me. I am already having problems with one certain member of my faction. Much like Hayashi, he is being affected by the Uzumaki, and he has been questioning my methods and beliefs recently. I need to ensure that he and my other soldiers never question me again, and thus my desire for your seal, answered Dannzo. Interesting. What do we get in return if we do agree to your demands? At the moment I am forming a plan to put myself as Hokage rather than the Uzumaki, and with your help my job will be easier. First off, both of us will benefit if I am made Hokage rather than the Uzumaki, and once I am named Hokage I will personally help all of you with your current conflict with Hayashi. I will personally see to it that Hayashi is removed from the clan head position. The elders all nodded in understanding, then they gathered around one another to discuss the pros and cons of Dannzo's offer. After 15 minutes to arguing they managed to form a decision. Hiroshi walked up to Dannzo and offered him to shake his hand. Dannzo agreed and the two grinned maliciously at their new partnership. We expect results, Dannzo-sama. When the time comes when you need us to place the seals on your soldiers, you know where to find us. Consider this a done deal, Hiroshi said. Dannzo nodded. Of course, Hiroshi. I must take my leave now. It would be best not to further arouse any suspicion with my presence among all of you. I will make sure that our plans and our partnership will come to fruition for both our sakes. Hiroshi nodded in return, and soon Dannzo exited the tent to return to his base. During his walk back to his base, Dannzo couldn't help but let out a small smile. Everything is going according to plan, he thought to himself. Konoha. It was early in the afternoon, and we see our hero, the new Hokage Naruto Uzumaki, quickly make his way towards the Hokage's office to meet with the daimyo and elders. The moment for his induction was close at hand. On his way there he was greeted by numerous civilians and ninjas. As the new hero in Konoha, everyone clamored to the young man. As he walked towards his office he also noticed the people of Konoha being told by ANBU to gather in front of the Hokage Tower, one of the few remaining structures which remained after Pain's attack. He heard that the people were being called for an important announcement. He overheard people whisper, wonder and murmur what this special announcement was about, and he smiled. These people were in for the shock of their lives, he thought. After a while Naruto managed to arrive just in time in his new office. Upon entering he saw the elders Hamura and Koharu. With the exception of Dannzo, the two were patiently standing in a corner patiently waiting for him. Also in the office were other council members from the day before. Dannzo and the advisors were not present, but the ANBU commander, Jonin commander and Fire Daimyo were. As he entered he was personally greeted by each of them. They exchanged formal handshakes and congratulatory greetings. Before continuing he excused himself from the office to finally change into his new outfit. He then left the office and headed to a private room to change, upon finding a vacant room within the large tower. As he entered the room he summoned both Fukasaku and Shima. Hello again, Fukasaku-sama, Shima-sama, do you two have the clothes I asked for? He questioned the two toads. Of course, Naruto-chan, you better appreciate how long it took me to make this for you on such short notice, Shima said with mock annoyance, as she handed him a storage scroll containing the clothes she carefully made for Naruto's induction ceremony. Arigato, Shima-sama, Fukasaku-sama. I'm sorry I made the request on such short notice, he said while rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. No worries, Naruto-chan. Now go on and get changed already, she ordered. Naruto smiled and gave the two toads a mock salute before changing into his new clothes. As Naruto opened the storage scroll and released the stored items he couldn't help but admire the clothes they made for him. He reluctantly tossed aside his trusty orange jumpsuit and replaced it with his new attire. Once he was finished changing he walked in front of the mirror. I look so cool, he inwardly squealed as he finally got a closer look on his outfit. As he looked at himself he studied every single part of his clothes and he smiled. Both Fukasaku and Shima really did him a solid. Naruto now wore a black long-sleeved fishnet shirt, and on top of that he wore a black short-sleeved v-neck shirt as well. For his lower body he had the standard-issue black ninja sandals along with the black ANBU-style pants with the kunai holder tied to his right leg. A/N. The outfit for Naruto is based on Itachi's character design without the Akatsuki cloak. Naruto then went back to the storage scroll to grab the final piece of clothing he asked for. He then fitted that final piece on. Upon looking at himself through the mirror once more his eyes widened. It was a perfect fit for him, and he could see that with this new Haori he looked exactly like his father. The Haori he now wore was a variation of his old sage coat with his father's Haori. It was the same physical design as his father's but with the color scheme of his sage coat. The design of the Haori had sleeves up to Naruto's biceps and a heightened collar. In the middle there was also a golden rope closing both sides together. Rather than being white like the Yandame's it was dark red and the flames on the hem were black rather than red. And on his back the kanji of Rokudame Hokage was written down vertically on the back of his Haori. Sitting behind Naruto, both toads were amazed and astounded by the physical similarities Naruto holds with his father. With his new outfit he could easily be mistaken for the Yandame. Finally Fukasaku also approached Naruto, and handed him the Shadow Clone's summoning scroll. Thank you for everything, Naruto told both toads with a large smile on his face. The two toads smiled back at Naruto. It was no problem, Naruto-chan. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished, you deserve it, replied Fukasaku. By the way, Naruto-chan, when your induction begins the other toads are also going to arrive. Gamabunta, Gamaken, Gamahiro and the others wish to witness another toad summoner be named Hokage, Shima said as Naruto glanced their direction. That would be great. I wouldn't be in the position I was had it not been for you guys. And frankly, Gamabunta has saved my life countless times, so it would be an honor if he could be here, Naruto answered back as he strapped on the large scroll to his lower back. With everything now ready for Naruto, he decided it was almost time for his speech. He decided to return to his office, but before then Fukasaku and Shima returned to Mount Mayaboku to rally the toads to Konoha in order to watch Naruto's induction as Hokage. The Hokage now re-entered his office. Upon seeing his new clothes, the eyes of the daimyo and elders widened. For the daimyo, he could see that Naruto bore a striking resemblance with one of his predecessors, the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. He shook his head. It was common knowledge that the Yondaime had no heirs. The group then waited patiently for the people of Konoha to gather in front of the tower. After a few minutes, an NBU member arrived, and he looked at the new Hokage in surprise before he composed himself once more. Everything is set, and the people have been called to the front of the tower, Daimyo-sama, he said. Excellent. Shall we begin? Asked the daimyo as the ninjas and Konoha representatives nodded. The group of 6 then walked up of the stair to reach the top of the tower, the area in which the Hokage usually gives speeches to the people of Konoha. From the 5, Naruto was asked to stand by the door where he could not be seen by the crowd. They asked him to wait before he was introduced as Hokage. Naruto nodded obediently, and watched as the daimyo stood in the middle of the tower balcony. To his left were Koharu and Hamura, and to his right were the Jonin and ANBU commanders. As the daimyo walked to the front of the balcony, the crowd suddenly went silent. All signs of whispers, murmurs and chatting all ceased as their daimyo prepared to address the crowd. People of Konoha, I come before you today full of pride and joy. A new age dawns in Konoha and we are here lucky enough to witness it. Unfortunately, the past few days have not been kind to Konoha, but rest assured, I will do everything I can to help with the reconstruction of the village, he declared proudly, causing the crowd to clap and cheer for him. Unfortunately, however, we also hold bad news. From the most recent attack, our Godame Hokage was left in a coma, and she does not appear to be waking up anytime soon. However, with the bad comes the good, and we found a way to fix this problem quite quickly. We managed to find a more than worthy successor for Tsunade's position of Hokage, admitted the daimyo as the people of Konoha ceased their clapping, most of them adopting widened eyes. Rather than just cheering, there were now gasps and murmurs around the crowd. Everyone was whispering with one another, all of them wondering who their next Hokage was. As the daimyo saw this, he smiled. He absolutely loved the suspense of the induction, and before he decided to name the Hokage, he shushed everyone in order for all of them to divert their attention towards himself. The candidate we chose is a noble man who has proven himself to be more than worthy of the position. He is a hero of Konoha, and I am, from what I could tell, he seems to be destined for the position, he continued before gazing upon the elderly man beside him, Hamura, in order to be handed the Hokage's hat. The daimyo then held the Hokage's hat. He was now close to bestowing it upon Naruto. He decided it was time to show the village the face of their new leader. And without further ado, I now introduce to you all the 6th Hokage of Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki, he said. The villagers were silent upon hearing this declaration. Their hero was now also their leader. Gasps could be heard all around the area and most people were dead still. Naruto presumed that was his cue. He made his way towards the daimyo as he was handed the hat. He grabbed it with his right hand and placed it on his head. The 5 other people occupying the front of the balcony stood back as Naruto decided to take the podium. From the crowds, all eyes were focused on their new Hokage. The older generations of Konoha were rubbing their eyes. They believed it was as if they have seen a ghost. Upon seeing Naruto in that manner, they were reminded of a figure in the past. In Naruto, they saw the Yondaime Hokage. From Naruto's point of view, the crowd was still speechless. He smiled as he looked from left to right. I am Naruto Uzumaki, the Rokudaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, he yelled to the top of his lungs. And as he screamed that to the heavens, the crowd burst and erupted with cheers, chants, songs and claps. The village celebrated their new hero, their new Hokage. Konoha. The new Hokage stood heroically in the balcony of the Hokage tower. His haori was flapping in the wind, while the large crowd of people cheered his name. Naruto looked heroic in this display as he soaked in the crowd's reaction. He relished in both the good and the bad. Despite the people's cheers, he could also sense a little bit of doubt lingering in their hearts. He paid it no mind. It only served as inspiration for Naruto to prove them all wrong once more. Among the crowd, Naruto's companions, teammates and classmates looked in awe as their friend achieved his lifelong dream. On one section, the Konoha 11 all gathered together. Naruto's induction as Hokage led to a variety of reactions from Naruto's friends and classmates. Naruto-kun, your flames of youth burn as bright as the sun. You truly are my eternal rival, loudly yelled Rock Lee. Tenten merely shook her head and walked towards her loud teammate as she hit his head with her fist. Lee, don't ruin the moment, she scolded. Niji simply watched his teammate's shenanigans. He shook his head in an amused manner, but he also had a small smile on his face. He looked once more towards the balcony at their new Hokage. I may no longer believe in fate, Naruto, but I do believe it was your fate to be Hokage, he thought to himself as he reminisced of his complicated past with Naruto. At the same time, Team 10 were also having their own set of unique reactions. The new generation of Ino Shikacho all celebrated the success of their longtime friend. Ino gazed towards Naruto's direction, staring at him dreamily. Now I could really fall for him, she silently told herself. As for the Akimichi, he raised a bag of chips to the sky and dedicated it to Naruto before intensely munching down on it. From the three, however, Shikamaru was the one with the most affected by it. He gazed at his fellow dead last with a proud smile on his face. Naruto, you troublesome bastard, you did it. Team 8 were also significantly affected by this announcement. From the three Chunin, 2 were clapping as one sulked in the ground. Shino stood stoically as he clapped for his friend. If you could look closer, one could see a hint of a smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Hinata, on the other hand, cheered shyly as her longtime crush finally achieved his lifelong dream. Naruto-kun, she thought with a blush as she admired her friend's stand on the tower's balcony. As for Kiba, the man was kneeling down, punching the ground for losing the Hokage position to his friend. A dark cloud loomed over him as his dog companion Akamaru attempted to comfort him. Hinata also tried to help her teammate, while Shino merely shook his head, clearly amused at the antics of his rowdy friend. Deep down, Kiba was happy for Naruto, but that doesn't mean he'd admit it to anybody. Finally, there was Sakura Haruno, the lone kunoichi of Team 7. She watched with widened eyes as she saw her good friend finally achieve her dreams. Then she began to clap and cheer the loudest among their group of friends. Unknowingly, tears cascaded down her cheeks. She was crying tears of joy at seeing Naruto stand in front of them all as their new leader. The idiot finally did it, she thought to herself as she smiled at seeing the Rokudaime Hokage. She admitted that she had own doubts about the affair, but she had the utmost faith in Naruto that he will find a way to succeed. He always did. She was also slightly surprised to see his attire's lack of orange, but she couldn't help but blush upon seeing the new Naruto. Another small group of Naruto's friends stood in a different area of the crowd. The small group included Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, Shizen and Iruka. Team Ebisu were also in the group, with the three genin of the team cheering loudly for their boss, while the elder ninjas were speechless upon the sight of their new leader. The group of elder ninjas could not utter a single word. There in front of them was their Rokudaime Hokage. They were all joyful and proud at the young man's achievement, but the group could not get one thing of their mind: his similarity to a certain past Hokage. Soon they were broken off their reverie as the three genin urged them to cheer as well. The older ninjas soon began to cheer for Naruto, all except for Kakashi. The masked man merely smiled underneath his mask and looked to the sky. Minato-sensei, Kushina-san, you too should be proud of your son. I'm honored to call him my student, he thought to himself. Back on the balcony of the tower, Naruto decided to finally address the crowd. He smiled brightly upon seeing his reception. He has certainly come a long way since his earlier days. He raised one arm slightly, and the crowd began to slowly cease their cheering to listen to their leader's words. I stand here before all of you as your Hokage. This dream of mine has finally been fulfilled. I would not have been in this position without the help of all my friends over the years. They are the reason I turned out to be the man I am today. The man who stands as Hokage before you all, said Naruto as his friend smiled at the young man. It was a typical Naruto display. It was his day to shine, and yet he couldn't help but still include them in the spotlight. I admit I have not had the best life and childhood growing up. It wasn't always peaches and rainbows. I was alone for most of my life, and I was ostracized due to what was inside of me, and everyone doubted if I would ever succeed as a ninja, he said as the people of Konoha looked down in guilt and shame. They were aware of their mistakes in the past. But despite all of that, I hold no grudges. I have forgiven all of you a long time ago, and despite my past, I will still protect all of you as the Hokage. Do not worry about the past grievances. As Hokage, I consider you all as a part of my family, and I promise to you all that I will protect all of you till my dying breath, Naruto continued as the people in the crowd looked up in admiration. They clapped and cheered for him. The people of Konoha were grateful for his forgiveness and dedication. Naruto looked at the people before continuing. He smiled at the reaction of the people, and that simply reminded him of just how much he truly loved the village of Konoha. Konoha will be in safe hands with me. The will of fire will live on through us and for future generations. I will make sure of that. I swear on the graves of my predecessors I will protect and lead Konoha to the best of my abilities, he stated as the crowd began to cheer louder and louder for the blonde young man. From this day forth, I will proudly serve the greatest village in the world, Konohagakure no Sato. As the Rokudaime Hokage, he finished. The cheers and the celebration seemed to have no end in sight. The people of Konoha were beyond ecstatic with the news of a new Hokage. Naruto was adored by the public. He was quickly rising from celebrity status into something much more. Today signified a new age in Konoha, the age of the Rokudaime Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki. Somewhere in the land of fire, the trio of ninjas hailing from Kumogakure continued their journey to Konoha. The Jonin leader Samui was getting annoyed at the bickering of her two Chunin teammates Karui and Omoi. As their journey continued, Karui suddenly lost it. She grabbed her hair out of frustration. Damn it, how long till we reach Konoha? With the pace we're going, B-sensei may already have been extracted by those Akatsuki bastards. Why can't we just take the fight to them? We don't need Konoha's help. Kumo's army is more than enough, she boldly declared in an angered tone. Samui sighed. She realizes that with the rate they were going, their sensei Killer Bee's life may be in peril. But she also knew that to even have a chance to rescue and find their sensei, they will need the help of the other nations. Karui, please be patient. If we were to attempt a rescue mission, we at least need help from Konoha. Akatsuki include S-rank ninjas, and the one who attacked B-sensei was an Uchiha. We are simple overmatched at this point in time, she explained calmly as Karui looked down in defeat. She knew Samui was right. Omoen nodded his head in agreement. Samui, how long till we reach Konoha? He asked calmly as he continued to suck on his lollipop. From my estimations, it will take us up to 5 days at most to make it to Konoha. If we are lucky, we could probably arrive sometime in the next 3 days, she explained as the two Chunin groaned. The two began to complain at how long their journey has been and how much longer it will take. Samui sighed at the antics of her two teammates' display. I'm in charge of children, she thought to herself as she shook her head in disbelief. Konoha. Meanwhile, back in Konoha, Naruto's induction ceremony had just finished. The crowds returned to helping in their part to repair the damage left by Pain during his attack. The daimyo also said goodbye to the new Hokage as he decided it was time for him to return to his home, seeing as how his work was done. The Toads also returned to their home in Mount Miyaboku once the induction ceremony was finally over. After shaking the hands with the daimyo and the two Konoha commanders, Naruto walked down the tower to make his way to his new office. Upon opening it, he saw his two new elders waiting for him patiently in front of his desk. Once the two saw him, both stood up. Hokage-sama, they both said simultaneously before bowing down respectfully. Kohara-san, Hamura-san, the young man greeted. Hokage-sama, as you know, myself and Hamura-san are your two official advisors. We also serve as elders in Konoha, and we have served under the Sandame, the Yandame, and the Godame Hokage, explained Koharu as Naruto nodded. As your two advisors, we are aware that you are still new to the job and that you still lack the skills required for this position. No offense, Hokage-sama, explained the female advisor. None taken, Koharu-san. I'm more than aware of what my strengths and weaknesses are, he answered back calmly. I see, well, that is good. But seeing as how this is your first day on the job, allow me and Hamura-san to give you the official tour. In this tour we will introduce you to the heads of certain departments in Konoha. It will be important for you to be acquainted with them, seeing as they will serve under you. We will also show you the locations accessible only to the Hokage and other high-ranking officials within Konoha. Will this be alright, Hokage-sama? She asked. Naruto nodded. He then glanced over to his new desk. He saw stacks of paper, and he groaned, recognizing them to be his paperwork. The paperwork required of him were all vital towards the village, and so he had to treat it with the utmost importance. But he also realized that this tour is an excellent opportunity for him to grow accustomed to his new job and to learn the ropes. With his quick thinking, he managed to remember a solution for this dilemma. He looked towards the two advisors and nodded. I think a tour would be a great idea. But before that I need to do something quickly, he said. Hamura nodded. By all means, Hokage-sama, he said as Naruto brought up a familiar hand seal. He managed to summon 10 shadow clones in his office, and he began to give them orders for when he was away in his tour. Naruto ordered the 10 clones to each do a tenth of the paperwork themselves while he was away on his tour. The 10 clones saluted mockingly before carrying on to do their newly assigned orders. Kohara and Hamura watched in the background. The two looked at each other and shrugged. Both were slightly surprised to see the Hokage manage to learn the secret of the jutsu their sensei created. They did have to admit it was an efficient method. The new Hokage then decided to begin the tour. He and his two advisors quickly made their way. Soon hours fly by between the three of them. During the tour, Naruto was first shown around the tower itself. He was shown the elders' offices just below his office, the council room in the top floor of the tower, and the other vital rooms within the tower. Then Naruto was shown to the underground prison of the village, the Konoha Strict Correctional Facility. There he was introduced to the wardens and he was told of the purpose of the area. The prison itself is the most dangerous of Konoha, seeing as how it houses the most villainous and violent criminals and missing means of Konoha. Afterwards, Naruto and the two elders returned to the village itself. There he was introduced to the heads of the departments. First was Ibiki Marino, the head of Konohagakure Intelligence Division. Next was the Jonin commander Shikaku Nara. Naruto was already familiar with the two, but they explained their roles to Naruto for him to better understand how they could help him in the future. Next on the list was the Hokage Guard Platoon. The two elders introduced Naruto to one of his two forms of bodyguard protection squads. Unlike the 4-man ANBU squad, the Hokage Guard Platoon was in charge of Naruto's protection when traveling outside of Konoha. Naruto met the three members of the group. The leader was a Tokubetsu Jonin Naruto recognized from his Chunin exams, Genma Shirani. Then there was another Tokubetsu Jonin in the group, Reito Namishi, and the final member was the lone Chunin from the three, Iwashi Tatame. Naruto was glad to meet them all, seeing as how they will be protecting him for years to come. Once they finished with the introductions here, Naruto was shown around other areas remaining in Konoha and introduced to other high-ranking officials within Konoha who now work under him. Not too long after the tour was coming close to an end, the last two places were the Konoha Archive Library and the ANBU headquarters. They decided to go to the former rather than the latter first. The library was not an ordinary one within Konoha. This library was placed in the Hokage monument and was only accessible to the Hokage, the elders, the Jonin commander, and the ANBU commander of Konoha. Other than that, the area was off limits. Naruto was shown the entrance to the area and how to enter it. He needed to place his blood on a seal placed on the door for it to recognize whether or not the person had access to the area, and the seal was recently updated to also include Naruto's blood within the list. This security system works somewhat similarly to a summoning jutsu. As the three entered the library, Naruto was told of what it held. The library had gigantic shelves full of books, documents, folders, notes and scrolls in the area, all of which were categorized in a neat and orderly manner. Naruto stood in the room in awe. He noted to himself to take advantage of his access to the area, seeing as how it could prove vital for his tenure as Hokage. Naruto walked around the library in both shock and awe upon seeing the massive gathering of books and other files. Hamura walked over to him. Amazing, isn't it? He asked as Naruto nodded in agreement. Well, Hokage-sama, you have access to all of this. This library contains various scrolls of every jutsu of Konoha. There are also jutsu scrolls from other nations, but it mostly contains the scrolls of Konoha. Inside there are also documents, folders and notes from the former regimes. The past Hokages also held their own scrolls and journals which could be found here, and you are more than welcome to take as much as you want, just so long as you return them, explained Hamura. This could prove to be extremely beneficial for me, Naruto admitted, as he continued to explore the large area. After a while, Naruto and the two decided to go to their final location, the ANBU headquarters. The ANBU headquarters' secret entrance was within the Hokage Tower basement. Then Naruto was shown a secret door and pathway to the base itself. This base proved to be among the many littered all around Konoha, but this also served to be the main base of ANBU. The others were also decimated during the attack of Pain, leaving this to be the sole remaining base within Konoha. As Naruto entered, he was shown through the area until they arrived to the base itself. The area was large, seeing how it was underground. There were various facilities in the area such as changing rooms, offices, conference rooms, bathrooms, gyms, dojos, training grounds, a bar and other recreational rooms. None of those were of concern, however, as they instead made their way to the ANBU commander's office instead. During their walk to the ANBU commander's office, the various ANBU within the base began to salute respectfully towards their new leader. Naruto smiled at the respect he was getting. A few minutes later they finally managed to arrive in the commander's office. Once they arrived, Naruto thought it seemed similar to the Hokage's office but slightly smaller. The ANBU commander bowed and the three noticed he was accompanied by 4 other ANBU operatives who bowed alongside the commander. It seemed as if the man had been expecting them for some time. Hokage-sama, it is a pleasure to see you, he said. Thank you, ANBU commander. It seems you have been expecting us? Replied the young Hokage. Indeed, Hokage-sama. We were awaiting your arrival as I wished to introduce your new ANBU bodyguard squad to you. I assure you that upon reviewing all my personnel I could not find anybody else more capable than them. They are the best of the best, said the masked man as he pointed to his 4 other members who stood in place proudly. Naruto nodded and smiled as he saw them. He noticed that there were 3 shinobi and 1 kunoichi from the group. Pleased to meet you all. But before you all become my official protection squad from ANBU, I wish to meet you all without the masks, he said with a smile. The 4 ANBU members all looked towards their commander as if asking for permission. He nodded and the 4 began to remove their masks. Naruto looked at each of them. Could you please introduce yourselves? He asked as the 4 nodded. The first to walk up was an average-looking man. He had spiky brown hair and brown eyes. He looked like he was in his mid-30s. Hokage-sama, I am Katsuro Miyamoto. My roles in the group are as the captain and the tracker. My ANBU codename is Wolf and I have been in ANBU for 15 years, he said proudly before stepping back. Next to walk up was a blonde man with blue eyes much like Naruto who looked to be in his 30s as well. My name is Daichi Yamanaka, Hokage-sama. My role in the team is as the torture and interrogation specialist of the group. I also serve as a censor. My ANBU codename is Panther, and I have been in ANBU for 11 years, he said as he stepped back into the group. Naruto nodded. This is a good start, he said pleasantly as the lone kunoichi of the group walked up to begin her introduction. She appeared to have a slender and athletic figure. She had dark blue hair and green eyes, and she also appeared to be in her mid-20s. Hello, Hokage-sama. My name is Kid Suzuki. I serve as the poison specialist, the trap expert, and medic of our group. My codename in ANBU is Spider, and I have been in the organization for 6 years. Then the final member walked up as Kid rejoined her group. The young man had dark red hair much like Gaara, but he also had yellow eyes. He appeared to be in his mid-20s as well. My name is Hideki Sato. I am the weapons specialist, infiltration expert, and the assassin of the group. In ANBU I am known as Badger, and I have been in this line of work for 7 years, he said. Naruto was pleased with the team. Thank you all for agreeing to do this. I feel safe now that my life is in your hands, he told them as the 4 smiled. In behalf of the 4 of us, Hokage-sama, we vow to protect your life to the best of my capabilities, said the captain of the group, Katsuro Miyamoto. The Hokage approved of the 4 as he ordered them get ready to begin. The 4 nodded and vanished to station themselves within the Hokage Tower. With this final step now done, the tour was now over and the 3 returned to the office at a leisured pace. Naruto did his best to remember all the places and people from earlier today. As they entered the office once more, Naruto saw his clones hard at work as they quickly and efficiently went through the Hokage's bane known as paperwork. He also noticed the letters properly sealed and placed in the side of his desk, and he smiled at the good job done by his shadow clones. The 2 elders were also surprised at the rate that the clones finished the paperwork. In order to check their work, Hamura walked over to the pile of the completed paperwork and began to read a few off the top. He was quite impressed at the performance and the choices of the clones. Their decisions and choices with the paperwork was a little rough around the edges, but that was to be expected. All in all, though, it was quite well done considering Naruto's non-existent experience to this line of work. Naruto saw the impressed expression of the elder, and he couldn't help but grin upon seeing their reactions. He then walked over to his new chair and sat in it as he relaxed his aching feet. The two elders then made their way to the front of Naruto's desk as they directed their attention to the young Hokage. "Do you have any questions, Hokage-sama?" asked Koharu. Naruto nodded slightly. "Yes, I do have 2 questions. First off, am I able to promote anybody I see fit? My second one is related to my staff. If I was not mistaken, I am also entitled to an advisor or 2 and a secretary, correct?" The Hokage asked the two. Hamura began to answer Naruto's first question. "As for the promotions, unfortunately you are unable to just promote anyone you see fit. For this you have to run your choices over the council during meetings where they will vote on whether or not a candidate is worthy of a promotion. But during times of war or during an invasion attack you are given the ability to bypass the rule, promote whoever you want. You do not need to seek approval from the council." For the second question, Hokage-sama, "Yes, you are entitled to your own personal staff. You alone are in charge of choosing them, but we do advise you to be cautious as to who you would choose as your advisors. We recommend for you to choose only 2 of them. And even though we will serve as your official advisors, they will be your personal advisors," answered Koharu. "Any other questions, Hokage-sama?" she asked. "Actually, I have another question which popped into my mind. It's about the Jonin vote. I just want to know any details about it, when it will take place, and such," he told them. The Jonin vote is a customary tradition to see if one candidate is truly worthy of the position of Hokage. Usually it takes a month or 2 during the reign of the Hokage to see if he is worthy, but due to the state of the village we believe we may push it back to 6 months. During those 6 months you must impress the Jonin of Konoha and show them why you are worthy of the position. During the vote you also need at least 75% of the Jonin votes to be accepted. The votes of Jonin, Anbu and Tokubetsu Jonin are counted during this event, explained Koharu. Naruto understood the answers of the 2 elders. He already had people in mind for a promotion and for his personal advisors and secretary. He also felt no pressure with the Jonin vote. He was confident in his abilities. Sensing no other question, the elders nodded. Koharu then informed Naruto about what tomorrow would bring for him. "Hokage-sama, we have also scheduled your first ever council meeting tomorrow." The clan heads and other council members were also told about this. This is customary, much like the tour, in order to show the newly inducted Hokage the real council meetings, since as Hokage this is going to be a regular event in your life. The council members are anxious to hear from you. They are currently awaiting any form of news or plans you may have concerning Konoha's reconstruction plans. And while you are there, I suggest for you to ready whatever idea you have in mind which requires approval from the council. Now if you ever have any more questions you wish to ask us, just look for us within our offices below you, she explained to Naruto as both she and Hamura began to exit the office of the Hokage. But before the two could leave, Naruto decided to ask them one more question that has been bugging him all day. "Wait," he called out to them as the two refrained their actions and moved back into the front of Naruto's desk. "Yes, Hokage-sama, what do you need of us?" asked Hamura. "Actually, Hamura-san, Koharu-san, I have one final question, but it is more of a personal question," he admitted. "Of course, Hokage-sama. Ask away," replied Koharu. Naruto gulped as he thought of ways not to sound rude towards the two elders. "Why are the two of you being so supportive of me?" he asked. As the moment those words came out of his mouth, he realized his mistake, as it did sound slightly rude towards the two elders. "Excuse me?" Koharu asked in a confused tone. Naruto recomposed himself. "What I mean is, why are you two suddenly helping me and my chances at being Hokage? I would have thought that the both of you would be supporters of Dannzo rather than myself, and I recall both of you not being particularly fond of me during my childhood," he explained. The two elders' expression softened. They now understood Naruto's confusion towards the whole situation. Koharu looked at Hamura, and the elder man nodded to her, giving her the confirmation to finally explain their views concerning the matter at hand to Naruto. Koharu sighed. "We will admit, Hokage-sama, when you were growing up we weren't particularly your biggest fans. We admit that we were even on Dannzo's side when the topic at hand was concerning you. We thought it would be best for you to be placed in Root rather than the academy, but the Sandaime always rejected Dannzo's suggestions to place you in Root. But as you continued to grow, so did our opinions about you," she explained. Naruto listened attentively. He flinched at the mention of his possible recruitment to Root. He was extremely grateful towards the Sandaime that he had not been placed in that horrible faction. "The Sandaime was the first key factor in changing our views about you. Hiruzen was always a kind and nurturing man, and he thought the world of you. He always believed in you, and that belief soon rubbed on us. When we saw you risk your life during the Chunin exams, and when we saw you willingly take on pain by yourself, we saw you for who you truly were," she continued. Naruto looked at the two elders in surprise. He hadn't known that he has this effect on people. "Ever since the Chunin exams we saw your potential, and the love you held for the village. We also saw the will of fire burning brightly within you. We could see greatness in your near future, and we even believed you could even one day become Hokage. We just didn't think it would be so soon, and although we believe in you, we aren't necessarily sold on you already becoming Hokage. You are much too young, Hokage-sama, and you don't have the required knowledge, political savviness, nor etiquette to truly be a Kage. At least not yet. We want you to one day be Hokage, but we would have preferred it to be the later rather than sooner. We wish that by the time you were chosen as Hokage you would have already been equipped with the required skills and knowledge rather than having to be baptized in fire. Naruto nodded, fully understanding the source of their worries and reluctance. He was not at all surprised that it revolved around his immaturity, unrefined nature, impatience, and naivete. A Kage needed the perfect blend of both strength and knowledge, but at this point in time Naruto was more than aware that his strength was far more superior to his knowledge. If he were to be a successful Hokage he needed to grow up, mature and learn as much as he can, and he planned on doing just that. Although we do agree with Dannzo from time to time and although we are friends with him, even we must admit that we would rather have you as Rokudaime Hokage than him, she confessed as Naruto was broken out of his thoughts. He stared at the elderly woman with a shocked expression. What do you mean? He asked. Dannzo is too aggressive and ambitious for his own good, and though he cares for Konoha as much as we do, his methods of showing it are questionable to say the least. Naruto nodded in understanding, but Hokage-sama, it is what it is and there is no way to turn back time. We are still more than happy that you're Hokage, but that does not mean we will always be on your side during arguments and debates. We may be supporters of you, but our main priority is Konoha and the village's well-being. We may not always appear to be your friends Hokage-sama, but we will do everything we can to help you live up to your potential. Naruto looked at Kohara, surprised at the words she told him. He smiled at the two elders and felt happy to know that he did have people who believed in him. Arigato Kohara-san, Hamura-san, Naruto told the two. The two bowed respectfully to Naruto. Hokage-sama, we may not believe you are ready just yet for your position, but we will assist you in any way possible to hone your potential for you be a great Hokage, Hamura said before the two elders began to leave Naruto's office. But before the two left, Hamura remembered something important. Also, before we leave Hokage-sama, I wish to give you something to help you start off with, Hamura told Naruto as he handed him a moderate-sized storage scroll. Inside the storage scroll are books on topics such as politics, history, and economics. These are merely a small collection of books within our office which could help you develop your skills as Hokage. I recommend for you to read them as soon as you can. Consider this our congratulatory gift, Hokage-sama. Naruto nodded and thanked the two. He quickly stood up from his chair and led the two towards his door. Once the two were gone, he glanced at the clock in his room. He noticed it was still mid-afternoon, and he still had quite a bit of time to kill. Choosing to do something productive, he decided to head over to the Konoha Archive Library once more while leaving his clones with the dreaded paperwork. As he entered the area, he browsed the catalogs and the inventory quite thoroughly, and he managed to use clones to speed up the process once more. After a few hours, he managed to acquire a large pile of items from the private library. One of the first things he borrowed was the various jutsu scrolls in the library. He focused mostly on the wind manipulation scrolls and scrolls for non-elemental techniques such as Fuin Jutsu, Shuriken Jutsu, Barrier Ninjutsu, and for clone techniques. Naruto decided to take those scrolls to give himself variation when it came to combat. He was aware that as Hokage he needed a much wider arsenal of techniques, seeing as how a Kage was described as a ninja who should at least know 1,000 techniques. He realized that during his battle with Pain, had it not been for the Kyuubi's intervention during the battle, he may not have lived for another day. With that in mind, Naruto learned that if another situation arises such as the attack of Pain, Naruto needed a wider variety of techniques if he wished to protect Konoha without the assistance of the Kyuubi. The combination of shadow clones and Rasengan variations were no longer enough. He needed to branch out in order to learn how to truly be a Kage-level shinobi. Despite only focusing on wind manipulation for now, that didn't necessarily mean Naruto was going to solely stick with his affinity. He was certain that the previous Hokages had at least known 3 elements. The Yondaime was the youngest Hokage before him, and he was a master of 3 elements, and he had the least of the other Hokages, not including Naruto. Tsunade was even a master of 4 elements, and even Naruto's 2 teachers had the ability to use 4, seeing as how both Kakashi and Jiraiya each mastered the same amount of elements as Tsunade. While on the other hand the Shodai, Nidaime and Sandaime were each on another level, having mastered all 5 of the basic elements, with the Shodai also mastering his Kekkei Genkai, Mokuton. Naruto realized he had to train and better himself constantly if he wished to live up to ninjas of that caliber. But for now he will take it one step at a time, starting with wind, and soon hopefully he will master his affinity and move on to other elements. Another goal of Naruto was to also finally master the Rasengan. He grabbed the scrolls of his father concerning the Rasengan in order to learn how to use it without the need of clones, and hopefully once he masters that he could do the same with the Rasen Shuriken and then move on to his father's other move, the Hiraishin. All in all, he saw that he needed to improve in various areas if he wished to be known as Konoha's greatest Hokage, and because of that he also took the notes, journals, documents, folders and files of the past regimes of Konoha in order to better understand the reign of each of Konoha's past Hokages. Naruto recognized the importance of learning his history and the past events of Konoha in order for him to see what he could do better, and he could avoid in the future. The young Hokage was beyond determined to surpass all those who came before him, and so he took as much as he can from the library, and once he was done he stored them all in a storage scroll as large as his shadow clone summoning scroll. Once he was finished getting the things he needed, Naruto decided it was finally time to call it a day. He brought the scroll with him and called back the clones in his office as he recalled their memory. He grinned at use of his shadow clones. Despite the large quantities of reading he has to do with the books given to him by the elders, the paperwork he has to complete, and the items he borrowed from the Konoha Archive Library, he could easily trim the time he will need to complete quite significantly due to the insane amounts of shadow clones he could form easily. As he exited the library, he saw that the sun had finally set and the night was finally upon them. He suddenly yawned and sensed that the day had taken a toll on him. He decided to head over back to his tent in order to get a good night's sleep to prepare himself for the ordeal he was going to have the very next day. Unknown area. Team Taka were quickly running through the trees to make it to Sasuke's former home, Konoha. During the journey the team was relatively silent, well, at least more silent than usual. Sasuke led the group, but he was engrossed with his past memories with Itachi. That has been occupying his mind lately since he learned the truth of the massacre from the Akatsuki leader Madara Uchiha. He clenched his fist in anger at the thought of the village's crimes towards the Uchiha. He vowed to be the one to avenge his clan. Their silent journey continued until they noticed a portal-like distortion in front of them. The four stopped to see what it was. Suddenly they noticed a masked man walk out of the tunnel. Team Taka recognized the man as Madara Uchiha. The masked man suddenly noticed the company. He raised a hand and greeted the four. "Hey Sasuke," he said nonchalantly. Sasuke didn't seem surprised at the arrival of his distant relative, while his three other teammates were in shock. What the hell? How did this guy do that? I didn't even sense his chakra. It was as if his chakra just came out of nowhere, Karen frantically thought to herself. Suigetsu cursed at the arrival of the leader of Akatsuki. Shit, bad timing, he mumbled to himself. Sasuke was the only one unfazed from the four. He looked at Madara with an uninterested expression. "How did you find us?" he asked him. Madara scoffed at the foolish question of the young Uchiha. "Don't underestimate my power, Sasuke. This is just the tip of the iceberg," he replied. Sasuke nodded stoically. "What do you want with me and my team? Team Taka is no longer a part of the Akatsuki. We have no use of you and your group anymore." Madara shook his head at Sasuke's foolishness. TSK, Sasuke. "Did you forget our deal?" he asked rhetorically. "I told you that I will kill you and your team if you betray me, and it seems that you did just that," he said calmly. Sasuke looked at the man confused. "What the hell are you even talking about?" he demanded. "I'm talking about the Eight Tails Jinchuriki. You failed me, Sasuke." "What are you talking about?" "We captured him and even delivered him to you," intervened Karen. Madara slowly turned his head towards the red-headed Kunoichi. "It was a fake, my dear. He tricked all three of you," he informed them as she gasped. In the back, Yugo remained calm, but Suigetsu gritted his teeth. "The Hachibi Jinchuriki really pulled the fast one on the four of you. I'm quite disappointed, I must say. Here I thought you four had potential as a team," he admitted as Sasuke clenched his fist in anger. He hated to fail, and he hated to be looked down upon. He recalled the battle itself, and soon his eyes widened as he realized that Madara did speak the truth. During the battle he truly did give them the slip. Suigetsu broke the awkward silence as he marched towards the masked man. "What do you want us to do about it? We already did our job," he yelled angrily, but the volume had no effect on Madara, seeing as how he remained and stood as calm as before. "No, you will fulfill your promise to me and my group. But I am no longer interested in the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Instead, I have another target I have in mind for you four." Sasuke faced the older Uchiha. "And what if I said no?" he asked daringly. "Then you will have to face me if you wish to make it to Konoha. And I'm sure all four of you know that even with your combined powers you four are still too weak to even challenge me," he answered while flaring his chakra slightly, causing Karen and Suigetsu to gulp nervously due to the power of his chakra. Sasuke paid his threats no mind. He readied his Chidori and jumped towards the masked man, only for him to pass through the older Uchiha. His eyes widened at the power of Madara. As Sasuke passed through him, he whispered something to Sasuke. "It's too late to go to Konoha now." Sasuke jumped back to his team after recovering. His eyes were widened due to the statement and Madara's power. The rest of the team also looked in shock at the power of Madara. "There is no point in your goal anymore, Sasuke. It's futile." "Too bad for you." "What do you mean?" Sasuke asked as he glared at the masked man. "Konoha has been destroyed, Sasuke." The whole of Team Taka were further shocked with the revelation. Karen was the first to recover. "What are you talking about?" she asked him. Madara was about to speak until he noticed another chakra source. Out from the ground, Zetsu popped up. The members of Taka were unsurprised to see the Akatsuki spy pop up out of nowhere. During their time in the group they have learned of the plant-like man's powers. "Allow me to explain," Madara-sama asked Zetsu as Madara nodded, but not before asking him a question. "So Zetsu, I assume you did as you were told. Who was named Hokage?" "I assume was Dannzo." Zetsu faced his master. "During my spying mission in Konoha I found out that there were 3 candidates for the position of Hokage. One was Dannzo Shimura, the second was Naruto Uzumaki, and the third was Kakashi Hatake," explained the Akatsuki spy as Sasuke looked surprised at the inclusion of his former teammate. Unknown to the group, however, Madara flinched slightly upon hearing the name of the third candidate. He unknowingly tightened his jaw upon hearing that name possibly become the Hokage of Konoha. Madara quickly composed himself in order to avoid arousing suspicion. He turned to Zetsu once more. "Tell me who was chosen," he demanded impatiently. But Zetsu remained unaffected by the man's sudden loss of composure. In the end it was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki Naruto Uzumaki, he told him as the members of Team Taka had shocked expressions. But the most shocked would be Sasuke. The young Uchiha's eyes widened in shock and his mouth was slightly agape. Madara, on the other hand, was slightly surprised by this. He had expected Dannzo, but with this piece of information it seems his plans have changed once more. Madara suddenly began to laugh mirthlessly. He could see the irony of it all upon hearing the news. "Is this true, Zetsu, are you certain?" he asked him. Zetsu nodded. "It is true. His power has certainly reached the levels of a Hokage," he assured. Madara sighed. This meant that once again a wrench was thrown into his plans. And lo and behold, the cause was Naruto once more. This spelled bad news for the Akatsuki, since Naruto's protection is now heavily increased as Hokage. And also it is rare for a Hokage to leave their village, seeing as how they manage the village within the confines of their own personal office. Capturing Naruto was now much more difficult, seeing as how he gained the strength to defeat an enemy the caliber of Pain, and how if Akatsuki wanted to get to Naruto they now had to go through all of Konoha. It didn't help that Pain also revived the ninjas he killed in his attack of Konoha. As Madara thought about his next course of action, one thing was for certain. Naruto was now their priority at this point in time. Sasuke clenched his fist and gritted his teeth upon hearing the news. There is no way that the dobe is Hokage, he thought to himself. Sasuke was filled with inner turmoil at the moment. He couldn't believe that Naruto had the power of a Hokage already. They had just seen each other a few months back, just after Naruto, Sakura, Sai and Yamato's battle with Kabuto and Orochimaru at the Tenchi Bridge. During their battle, Naruto was no match for him whatsoever. Even with the help of the other three he could have easily defeated them. But now it seems that was not the case. The young Uchiha hated to be outshined and hated to be weaker than anybody. But the one thing he hated most was the thought that Naruto could have been better than him. Ever since he knew him, he had been better than the dead last in everything. And even though he once considered him to be a brother, he would not allow him to exceed him in any way. He quickly shook his head for those thoughts to disappear for now. Before he deals with Naruto, he needed to know about what had happened to Konoha. He looked towards the two Akatsuki members. "I don't care if Naruto is Hokage or not. Tell me about Konoha," he demanded as he attempted to hide his true feelings and thoughts about the information. Madara glanced towards the younger Uchiha. "Pain, I ordered one of the Akatsuki members to attack Konoha, and it seems both he and you have made quite a commotion in the 5 nations. After your attack on the Hachibi and Pain's attack on the Kyubi, the 5 nations have been in distress. No longer were Konoha and Suna the only villages seeing us as legitimate threats. At least 2 more have begun actions to counter our moves," he explained to the 4-man team before Zetsu interrupted him. "Allow me to explain, Madara-sama," he asked as Madara nodded. Zetsu then went on to explain the battle of Pain and Naruto. The 4 were surprised at the level of destruction the 2 caused around the land of fire, along with Naruto's growth as a ninja. They were all further shocked to hear that Pain wielded the legendary Rinnegan. They couldn't believe Naruto could defeat a man of that caliber. With the news told to them, the 3 recruited members of Team Taka were unsure of what to believe from Sasuke. They were constantly told stories of Team 7 and how weak Naruto was when compared to him. And now here they were hearing about the accomplishments of Naruto. After a while, Zetsu managed to complete his explanation, leaving the 4 dumbfounded. Suigetsu looked at the Akatsuki spy. He was still slightly unsure about all of this. "Are you sure that Naruto actually did all of that?" he asked him, causing Zetsu to nod. He shuddered at the thought of someone wielding that much power and potential. "I assure you all that I speak the truth. Naruto's powers increased immensely ever since he learned Senjutsu. He is even stronger than Sasuke-kun," said Zetsu teasingly. Sasuke glared at the plant-like man and unleashed a little bit of ki. "I don't care about all of that. Tell me about this summit you spoke of," he demanded angrily as his emotions showed his true thoughts on the matter at hand. Madara sensed Sasuke's uncontrollable emotions when it came to matters such as this. He grinned as he saw Sasuke in this state. His superiority complex when it came to Naruto made him an easy target to manipulate. This could prove to be an excellent opportunity for Akatsuki, he thought to himself. Suigetsu then walked over to Sasuke and broke the tense silence. "What are you thinking, Sasuke? Why are we even talking about this summit meeting? Isn't our mission to kill Dannzo and the elders of Konoha?" he asked. Sasuke looked at his sword-wielding teammate with a stoic demeanor. "Do not worry, Suigetsu. I still plan on killing Dannzo and the elders, but before then I have something I have to prove. I have a target before we get to the elders. I wish to kill my brother," he told them with a maniacal grin as the 3 looked at him confused. Suigetsu looked confused. "What do you mean, your brother? We already killed Itachi?" he asked him as Sasuke glared at him for bringing up old wounds. Suigetsu stood back a bit once Sasuke began to unveil his new Mangekyo Sharingan at him. "You wouldn't understand, Suigetsu. None of you would understand. This is just something I must do. Something inside of me will not allow Naruto to continue what he is doing," he told them, finally losing his cool. In the back, Madara's grin further increased, but the expression was hidden underneath his mask. "I think I could offer you a solution to your problem," Sasuke interjected the masked man as the 4 members of Taka directed their attention to him. "Akatsuki and I already have a plan in set to attack the 5 Kage summit. We were originally going to attack to send a message to the 5 Kages and to deal as much damage to them as possible, but since the Kyubi Jinchuriki is now the Hokage, this could also serve as our best chance to capture him. So tell me, Sasuke, are you by any chance interested in joining?" he asked coyly with a grin hidden underneath his mask. "Count me and my team in, but only with one condition. I'll be the one who will fight Naruto, he told Madara, and the older man's grin widened as he nodded to confirm Sasuke's condition. Good, my plan is all coming together, he thought to himself. Where is this summit going to take place and when? Sasuke asked the man. It will take place in the Land of Iron approximately 1 month from now. Sasuke nodded. Madara then looked at his spy Zetsu. Zetsu, we have a change of plans. I need you to look for Kisame and bring him back. We need him for the attack on the summit if we wish to capture the Hokage, he said as Zetsu nodded. The Akatsuki spy then submerged into the ground to look for his fellow Akatsuki member Kisame. At the same time, Madara and the 4 members of Team Taka were quickly making their way to the Akatsuki hideout to begin their planning for the summit attack. During the journey to the hideout, Madara smiled underneath his mask due to his new recruits. It looks like all my plans are coming to fruition, he thought to himself. Secret root base. Meanwhile, back in Konoha there were various hidden locations for Dannzo's root forces. They served as bases and no one knew much knowledge of them save for the root members themselves. The entrances to the base were spread all around Konoha, some of which were even secretly placed within the Hokage Tower. Dannzo was making his way to his main base and beside him were his 10 new business partners, the Hyuga elders. He soon noticed the dead end in front of them. He opened the secret doors within placed in the dead end he designed, and with Root being a secretive organization it was only natural to have secret doors within their headquarters and base of operations. The Hyuga elders all looked impressed and amazed at the excellent precautions Dannzo took to hide his bases. Even with their Byakugan they would not have been able to find this base of his. Upon entering the secret door, Dannzo and the elders walked through the lone pathway and arrived in front of all the Root soldiers as they waited for Danzo's arrival patiently. Upon seeing their leader they all simultaneously took a knee and bowed to the man respectfully. Though some were also confused concerning the presence of Hyuga clan members, they chose not to express their opinions and rather put their faith and belief in their leader. This is true leadership, the Warhawk thought with a smirk on his face as he watched his obedient followers. In the back the elders were both amazed and intimidated at the small army which stood in front of them. They were aware of Dannzo's power, but they had not expected it to be like this. They were now feeling more and more confident in their dealings with Dannzo. As Dannzo glanced towards his Root army, he informed them of the current news of Konoha and its new Hokage. For the ones unaware of the news, they were shocked to hear that their leader was not chosen for the position. But worry not, my soldiers, I will find a way to take care of our problem. In due time I will be the Hokage rather than the Uzumaki, Dannzo claimed as he finished up his speech. After the speech he then called for Sai, Fu and Toryun. The 3 arrived in front of Dannzo bowing their heads as a sign of respect. I consider the 3 of you among the best Root soldiers I have trained since the beginning of this program. With that said, I have a mission capable of you 3, explained Dannzo as the 3 awaited their orders. Toryun and Fu, I require the 2 of you to each form your own team of 4 consisting of your fellow Root members. Your mission will be to spy on the new Hokage. The 2 of you will take turns with your teams, but I must warn you, he has his own 4-man ANBU bodyguard squad protecting him, and the boy has quite powerful sensory abilities. I'm still surprised he managed to find the location of the private meeting with the daimyo. Your jobs are to spy on the man and report any activity to me, he ordered sternly. The 2 Root members nodded their heads due to the orders. Hi Dannzo-sama, they said. Dannzo then glanced towards Sai. As for you Sai, you will work alone but as our inside man. If I am not mistaken, you are close to the Hokage and I want you to act as his friend and gather as much information as you can. Are we clear? Hi Dannzo-sama, replied Sai, stoically attempting to show no visible emotion. Inside, however, he was quickly plagued by the thoughts and the guilt of betraying his companion, teammate, and most of all, friend. Dannzo could see a slight reluctance in the expression of Sai. He grinned. This was the reason as to why he partnered with the elders of the Hyuga clan. He was going to rid the doubt and reluctance of all his soldiers, and they will all be forced to follow his demands. Sai, Toryun, and Fu, I need you 3 to come with me to my office. I need to begin a small experiment, he said with a sinister smile. The 3 gulped but nodded their heads as Dannzo led them to his office. Behind them the Hyuga clan's elders also followed. Sai did not have a good feeling about this, but he had no choice but to obey Danzo's orders. Once the group arrived in his office, he made Sai, Toryun, and Fu each sit in one chair as one elder attended to each of them. The 3 Root members were nervous and curious as to what Dannzo had in mind. Then they felt the Hyuga elders place the palm of their hand onto their foreheads. After a few seconds they suddenly felt unbelievable levels of pain emit from their foreheads. The 3 screamed in pain as they were being subjected to Danzo's seal placement. In the back, Dannzo watched on, not even affected by the screams of his soldiers. Enjoy while you still can, Uzumaki. Your reign as Hokage will be a short one, I assure you, he thought to himself silently with a sinister smirk adorning his scarred and bandaged face. Konoha. The morning sun rose over Konoha once again, and it indicated the Hokage's second day on the job. As Naruto woke up in his tent, he realized the importance of the day. Today was his first council meeting as Hokage of Konoha. After preparing for his meeting and gathering his notes to discuss at the meeting, he summoned a few shadow clones within his large tent order for them to study the files and books he gathered from the library, and the books given to him by the 2 elders. After that he made his way to the Hokage Tower. On his way there he was bombarded by the citizens of Konoha, all greeting and congratulating him. They were also asking him for autographs and photos, while 1 or 2 asked for Naruto to kiss their babies' heads. Being new to the attention he was getting, he entertained all of their requests. Naruto also noticed that there was also suddenly a mob of fangirls all directing their affection towards him. He blushed at their requests for dates and at the attentions he was getting from women. It only served to boost his self-esteem. But despite the amount of fangirls flocking towards him, he knew that none of that truly mattered to him. He was only after the heart of one girl. He sighed at the thought. He didn't want to be sleeping around with women like his deceased sensei Jiraiya. He would have rather just have one woman who he could settle down with for the rest of his life. He already knew who the woman he wanted to spend his life with was. But the question truly was, would she feel the same way towards him? As Naruto thought about his non-existent love life, he also thought back to Hinata and her confession to him during his battle with Pain. Naruto flinched at the thought of how she almost died. He felt guilty about loving Sakura when Hinata was loving him this whole time, and he felt guilty for being unaware of her feelings for such a long time. He ran a hand across his hair and sighed at the depressing thoughts. He decided he had to speak to Hinata about this as soon as he can. Naruto then remembered his duties for the day. He sweated nervously upon realizing that today he was going to be having his first council meeting. He had been preoccupied quickly by his new fans and his non-existent love life. With urgency he made it there on time. He quickly apologized to his fans and ran as fast as he could to the Hokage tower. Upon arrival he headed up the stair and made his way to his office first. Once there he summoned clones once more to continue with the new stack of paperwork for today. Then Naruto headed up to the final floor of the tower to enter the large conference room which housed the Konoha council meetings. Upon entering, all the eyes were suddenly on him. There, seated in the large conference table, seemed to be clan heads. On each of the seats of the clan heads was a flag attached to its back with the logo of the clan they represented. He also noticed that 4 of those seats were unoccupied. Also sitting on the table were 6 representatives of the civilian council. They were seated near the end of the table, while at the head of the conference table was the seat for the Hokage. Seated nearest to the Hokage's seats were the elders of Konoha. All noticed his arrival and quickly stood up to bow respectfully, except for Dannzo. The old warhawk refused to stand up and bow. Instead he opted to remain seated with an emotionless and unimpressed expression on his face. Naruto bowed back and made his way to his seat, as the rest of the council members sat on their respective seat. "Welcome, Hokage-sama, to your first council meeting. I believe it is time for us to begin," Hamura said respectfully as Naruto nodded his head. "I agree, Hamura-san," replied the blonde Hokage. "Very well then, I believe it would be best for each of us to introduce ourselves first, and begin our roll call," Hamura continued. Then one by one the members of the council individually stood up to introduce themselves. The first were the 3 elders, then were the 6 civilian council members, each of which seemed to be in the age of 40 and over. From the 6 representatives, 4 of which were men and 2 were women. Most of them were successful businessmen and businesswomen in Konoha. Then finally there were the clan heads of Konoha, each of which began to introduce themselves and the clan they represented. They went by it in alphabetical order, the same way they were organized in the table. The first to introduce themselves was Shibi Aburame. "Greetings, Hokage-sama. My name is Shibi Aburame and I am here to represent the Aburame clan," he told him as he bowed respectfully. Naruto recognized the man as Shino's father and smiled. Only now did he realize how many of his friends' parents represented their own clans as the head. Then Naruto noticed the reserved man walk over to Naruto as he handed him a tanto. Naruto looked confused for a second but bowed graciously as he thanked the older man. As Shibi made his way back to his seat, Kohara leaned over to Naruto's ear. "The clan heads each brought you gifts, Hokage-sama. This is a customary tradition for each new Hokage, and this is done to gain favor and show their respect to you. Each gift represents their clan," she whispered. Naruto nodded and smiled at the gift. He wondered what each clan head had in store for him. Next to stand up was Choji's father. "Hokage-sama, I am Chozo Akimichi. I represent the Akimichi clan," he proudly declared before standing up to hand Naruto an Akimichi Naginata. This was the main weapon of his clan. Once again Naruto thanked the man for the wonderful gift. Then the third to stand up was the stoic Hayashi Hyuga. He bowed at the presence of the young man and smiled. "He reminds me of his father," he thought to himself before he began his introduction. "I am Hayashi Hyuga and I am here to represent the Hyuga clan as its leader," he said as he made his way to hand Naruto a yukata made from the finest silks. Its design was both simple and delicate. It was a black yukata with a dark red sash as it resembled his own Hiyori. Naruto accepted the gift happily. He smiled, finally finding proper formal gear for himself. Kiba's mother then stood up with a feral grin as she stared down Naruto intimidatingly. Naruto gulped and began to sweat nervously due to the intense glare of the woman. "Hokage-sama, I am Some Inuzuka. I've heard so much about you from my Sochi Kiba. Anyway, I am here to represent the Inuzuka clan," she said as she handed Naruto an Inuzuka fawn necklace. The 5th member to stand up was a man Naruto recognized quite well, the clan head of the Nara clan and Shikamaru's father, Shikaku Nara. He stood up calmly and sighed. "Introductions are so troublesome," he confessed as the whole council's sweat dropped at the Nara's laziness. Like father like son, Naruto thought to himself in an amused tone before Shikaku began to speak. "We already know each other, Hokage-sama, but I am Shikaku Nara and I am here as Jonin commander and as the clan head of the Nara clan," he said. His gift to Naruto, however, was unlike the others. This time it was a shogi board which Naruto gladly accepted. Then a man the Hokage didn't recognize began to stand. Upon first glance Naruto almost mistook him for the deceased Jonin Asuma Sarutobi. He appeared to have the same spiky hairstyle and the same beard as Asuma, but physically he was slightly shorter and smaller than the man. "Hello there, Hokage-sama. We have not met, but I am certain you've met my father, son, and my older brother. In fact, I've heard a lot of things about you from the three of them. All good things, I assure you," he said before chuckling. "My name is Daisuke Sarutobi, Hokage-sama. I am the son of the Sandaime Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi and the younger brother of Asuma Sarutobi, and I am here to represent the Sarutobi clan," he said as Naruto's eyes widened. He now recognized why the man seemed slightly familiar. Upon hearing the news about him being familiar with his son, Naruto guessed that this man might be the father of Konohamaru. Naruto smiled as he met the man and the new head of the Sarutobi clan. If he was anything like his father, brother or son, then he and Naruto will likely have a good relationship. Daisuke also walked towards Naruto as he handed him his gift. As the two men met for the first time, they also shook hands. On behalf of the Sarutobi clan, Naruto was handed a traditional clan bow staff designed much like the Sandaime's adamantine staff with the Monkey King Enma. As Daisuke made his way back to his seat, the final member of the clan head stood up. Naruto recognized the man as Ino's father, greeting Hokage-sama. "Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Inoichi Yamanaka and I am here to represent the Yamanaka clan," he said as he walked towards Naruto and handed him a katana as a gift. The katana was the weapon which represented their clan the best. Naruto then stood up and bowed towards the whole table. "Thank you everybody for your gifts. As Hokage, I will make sure to treasure each of them and consider them as an act of friendship from each of the clans," he said before the members of the council began to applaud the young man. "If it's alright with all of you, I believe the meeting should now commence," continued Naruto, as the whole council room nodded. "Hokage-sama, I suggest we begin with your plans concerning Konoha's reconstruction. Currently this is the village's main issue and we would like to hear your input on the matter and how you plan to fix this current problem," advised Hamura. Naruto nodded as he began to address the situation at hand. "During the past few days I have been thinking of methods in which we could restore Konoha to its former glory. The first part of the reconstruction I suggest we should focus on would be the crater left by Nagato's attack. I plan on gathering the Earth user within Konoha to help resurface the crater first and foremost," he explained as the council nodded in agreement over Naruto's initial steps towards their reconstruction plan. "I also plan on recalling back our ninjas away on lower-level missions, recon missions and border patrol duties. We will need their efforts and as much help as we could get in order to rebuild our village," Naruto continued. "Is that all, Hokage-sama?" asked one of the civilian council member, not yet completely convinced by Naruto's plans of reconstruction. Naruto shook his head. "Of course not, this is just the beginning. As you all know, Yamato Taisha has the rare ability of Mokuton," he said. The council members nodded their heads. "Well, with this unique ability I plan on assigning Yamato as the leader of the reconstruction project of Konoha. His Mokuton abilities are invaluable in this situation. My plan involves him leading the reconstruction and myself as the overseer of the project," he told the council confidently as the council began to see the logic in Naruto's choices and decisions. Shikaku adopted a thinking pose as he strategized other methods to further increase the potential rate of reconstruction for Konoha. "Hokage-sama, how about we also ask for help from our allies from Suna to speed up our restoration," he suggested. Naruto smiled at Shikaku's thought. He was thinking along the same lines and then some. "I'm glad you brought that up, Shikaku-san. I was thinking of the same thing. But Gaara is not my only option. During my days as a genin I took part in various high-ranking missions and from them I managed to meet a wide variety of people, many of which could help us with the reconstruction," he replied. Naruto then went on to list the people he had in mind, all of which shared a friendly connection and bond with the Hokage, and Naruto was confident that they were willing to help him in his time of need. He told the council of his plans to ask for help from the likes of Tazuna, Shibuki, Gaara, Konan, Toki, Chikara, Koyuki and Haruna. The council as a whole were surprised to hear Naruto's inclusion of Konan, but Naruto managed to convince them to trust in both him and the former Akatsuki member. They reluctantly agreed, but if anything were to happen the blame would directly go to Naruto. Naruto was more than happy to carry that burden. He would now soon write letters to each of the people he previously listed, and he plans on sending a genin team for each letter. Aside from that, he also planned on sending out a few more genin teams to also gather and purchase resources from other lands. Once the talks of reconstruction ended, the council members were quite impressed with their young Hokage. He composed himself as a true Hokage should, and he offered logical and impressive plans to fix the current situations of Konoha. But despite all of that, what surprised the council most were Naruto's connections. The young man already had the support of various leaders, major political figures and even daimyos. All of this could prove useful for the future. Naruto's two advisors Koharu and Hamura also noted this down. These connections of Naruto has the potential to be beneficial in the long run. The only one who remained unimpressed with Naruto was Dannzo Shimura. During the whole meeting he waited for Naruto to slip up so that he could use that opportunity to prove to the council that Naruto was not ready for the position. He was however disappointed to see that no such opportunity presented itself to him. After their discussion on Konoha's reconstruction, Naruto then brought up his own ideas concerning promotions and the council members all listened attentively. and as unbiasedly as they could for each of Naruto's 6 recommendations for promotions. The first of the promotions was for a Chunin promotion. He told them that he wished for Konohamaru Sarutobi to be promoted for his heroics and actions during the invasion of pain, wherein he managed to defeat one of the 6 paths of pain in order to save his sensei Ebisu, and he managed to do so by performing the Rasengan. Naruto couldn't help but smile as he recommended his unofficial student for the promotion. He was proud of his little brother, and his student for his growth as both a ninja and as a man. Ultimately, the council decided unanimously that Konohamaru did deserve the promotion. In the back, Daisuke grinned at his son's promotion. The next one Naruto had in mind was a promotion for the longtime Chunin and member of the Hokage Guard platoon, Iwashi Tatame. He wished for him to promoted from Chunin to Tokubetsu Jonin due to his long tenure as both a Chunin and member of the Hokage Guard platoon. He has also shown himself to wield the skills of the Tokubetsu Jonin. Unlike the previous recommendation, the decision took much longer, but in the end they decided he too was worthy of a promotion. Then there were Naruto's 4 final promotions, all of which were to the rank of Jonin. 3 of which were for Ibiki Marino, Genma Shiranui and Anko Mitarashi. The first 2 choices had not been all that much conflicted, unlike the final choice. The council saw it fit for both Genma and Ibiki to be promoted for their long-standing loyalty to Konoha and for all their actions and achievements during their tenure as ninjas of Konoha. However, Anko was a much more controversial choice than any of them. Most of the council were still unsure of her loyalty due to her previous association with the snake Sannin Orochimaru. After much debate, the council voted to a deadlock, but Naruto had been the tie-breaking vote and naturally he chose in favor of Anko, and so the snake mistress was chosen for a promotion. The council members against her promotion decided to trust in their Hokage's judgment. The final promotion Naruto had in mind consisted of his good friend. Naruto suggested for Shikamaru Nara to be promoted from a Chunin into a Jonin. The council members were all surprised, but none more so than Shikaku Nara. After a lengthy discussion concerning this possible promotion, the council was swayed by Shikamaru's tactical, strategic and leadership abilities, but were disappointed by his lazy and unmotivated nature. However, ever since the death of Asuma, nobody could say that Shikamaru was the same person. That unfortunate event proved to be an eye-opener for the young man. In the end, though, it was Shikamaru's victory over Haiden which sealed the deal. The council members all decided that he truly was worthy of promotion. Naruto smiled at the council. All 6 of his recommendations panned out to be promoted. Now, after their discussion on promotions, they began to talk about the budgeting of Konoha's many departments. The debate concerning this topic lasted a couple of hours. Naruto made it clear that he wished to dedicate most of their funds from the daimyo, trades and savings on the reconstruction of Konoha. Nobody could disagree with that choice. It was logical for him to choose that at this point. But it would be the following priorities that would spark up debate between the council. Naruto wished to prioritize both education and healthcare after the reconstruction effort. Some were agreeing with Naruto while the others leaned towards Dannzo's ideas to use their funds for military purposes. Naruto clearly disagreed with Dannzo, seeing as how their military was already the strongest among the 5 nations. He believed that healthcare and education were simply more important at the moment. The argument for Konoha's funds soon ended with slightly more than half of the council agreeing with Naruto after further convincing by the Hokage himself. Naturally, Dannzo was not pleased with the outcome, but he resisted showing any emotions or feelings concerning the matter. After the council's lengthy discussion with the council, the meeting was finally called to an end. Naruto's first meeting was officially over and it took up to 4 hours of their time. Despite the amount of time spent, Naruto was still pleased with himself as he managed to accomplish the goals and plans he had set out to do beforehand. As the members of the council began to walk towards the exit, each congratulated Naruto once more on his new position and for his accomplishments. After a while, the last remaining people in the office were the 2 advisors. Both Koharu and Hamura approached the blonde Hokage. "Tell me, Hokage-sama, how did you find your first council meeting?" Hamura asked the Hokage. "It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It was certainly much longer than I thought, but I believe I managed to achieve the things I set out to do," he answered with a smile. Hamura nodded. "Well, I must say, Hokage-sama, you did quite well considering this was your first." "Why, thank you, Hamura-san. I do have a question though concerning the council. Why are there 4 vacant clan head seats?" "Allow me to explain, Hokage-sama," intervened Koharu. "Those 4 seats are for the clan heads of the Kurama clan, Senju clan, Uchiha clan and the Uzumaki clan. As you know, those 4 clans are quite frankly lacking members. Tsunadeheim was among the last known Senju within Konoha. You are among the last known Uzumaki clan members within Konoha. And finally, your former teammate Sasuke is the last known Uchiha. As for the Kurama clan, their heir is still unable to fulfill her duties, seeing as how she is still trying to master her abilities," she explained. Naruto nodded at the logical argument. He did in fact remember the pale girl known as Yakumo Kurama. He only hoped she was doing well wherever she was. One thing did bother Naruto though. Why wasn't he the representative of the Uzumaki clan? "Koharu-san, as you previously stated, I am an Uzumaki. Why was I unable to represent my clan, and could I also represent my clan now as Hokage?" he asked curiously. "You were unable to represent your clan in the past due to your age. A council member should at least be 18 years old. This could only be bypassed if the Hokage allows you to be a clan head even if you are under that certain age. And it seemed that both the Sandame and Godame did not use this loophole," she answered. Naruto nodded. He understood why he probably wasn't chosen. For the Sandame it was probably because he was too young and he was just beginning to grow up, while for the Godame it was probably because he wasn't ready for the responsibility just yet. He didn't mind not being chosen to represent his clan, there were no hard feelings, he was just curious to know why he hasn't represented them. Unfortunately, Hokage-sama, you are also now unable to represent your clan seeing as how you are Hokage. As Hokage you should act as the unbiased judge and leader of the group, and also we cannot give you a second vote during meetings. You already have one as Hokage and you also have the final say in things. We cannot give you another vote as clan head seeing as that may be unfair. However, your clan could be represented by any relative you may have, any heir you may soon have, and if you are married then your wife could also represent your clan even though if she may not be an Uzumaki to begin with. Just as long as she takes your last name then she is capable to represent your clan while you act as the Hokage, she explained. Alright, I understand, replied Naruto before the three left the council room. The two elders made their way to their offices as Naruto did the same. Once he entered his office he went to work as he began to write letters requesting for help from his friends in high places. It took him an hour at most and in front of him were now 8 letters, each of which to be sent to a different person. Once he was finished with his initial task he called out to his ANBU. The 4 arrived in front of him awaiting orders. ANBU, I require you to bring me Shizen first, then Shikamaru Nara, Ibiki Marino, Anko Mitarashi, Genma Shiranui, Iwashi Tatama and Konohamaru Sarutobi as a group second. After them I need you to also bring in Yamato Taishu. And finally I need you to also call as much genin teams as you can, I don't care who they are. When you call them I need them to arrive in that order as well. He ordered them as the 4 members vanished in sight. Naruto decided to be productive while waiting and so he worked on his paperwork once again. After a while Shizen appeared with Wolf escorting here. We did as you were told, Hokage-sama. We brought Shizen-san and the others you called for are waiting in the lounge, he said to the Hokage. Thank you, Wolf, Naruto said before the ANBU operative vanished and returned to his spot in the tower. The young Hokage then looked towards the young Jonin. When he glanced at Shizen he saw her smiling at him. Congratulations, Naruto-kun, it seems that you actually did it. I knew you were going to be Hokage one day but I didn't expect it to be this early. Naruto smiled at the woman he considered to be like an older sister to him. Thank you, Shizen-nichan. I actually called you here today to ask you to be my assistant like you were to Bachan. Shizen looked slightly surprised at the offer but then she smiled at the Hokage. Of course, Hokage-sama. I'll happily be your assistant, she chirped happily. Naruto smiled at her acceptance as he stood up to shake her hands. Thank you, this really means a lot to me. And frankly I really need your help to organize things, he told her sheepishly, causing her to smile. Don't mention it, Naruto. I am more than happy to be your assistant and secretary, she assured him. That's great, Shizen-nichan. I guess we could begin tomorrow. For today I suggest or you to get some rest first before the job begins. Shizen nodded. I'll do just that, Naruto-kun. See you tomorrow, she said before exiting through the front door. But before she leave the office Naruto called out to her. Shizen, before you leave could you please call in Konohamaru, Shikamaru, Genma, Anko, Ibiki and Iwashi to come here. Of course, Naruto-kun, she replied. Naruto went back to his seat as he awaited the ninjas he called for. Soon one by one they arrived and Naruto smiled upon seeing them. What did you call us here for, Gaki? Asked Anko as Ibiki groaned. Anko, this is our Hokage. He isn't the same person we met during the Chunin exams, he said. Konohamaru was also standing in the room but he was admiring his boss in awe. He had finally become Hokage as he predicted. Seeing Naruto as the Hokage made Konohamaru smile. This only strengthened his resolve to be the Nanadame Hokage. Naruto chuckled at the interactions of both Ibiki and Anko. He did not notice the look on Konohamaru's face. Well, actually I called you all here for certain reasons, he told them as the 6 began to straighten out in front of the Hokage. I would like to congratulate each of you first and foremost. During my council meeting earlier today I spoke to the council about all 6 of you and I nominated each of you for a promotion, Naruto told them with a smile. The 6 ninjas were surprised by the news. Naruto then grabbed the 6 scrolls laid in front of his desk. Each scroll contained the items and documentation for their promotions. Naruto handed each one to the 6 ninjas in front of him. Konohamaru was given a Chunin scroll, Iwashi was given the Tokubetsu Jonin scroll, and Shikamaru, Ibiki, Anko and Genma were given the Jonin scroll. Each gratefully accepted the scrolls gleefully. The happiest among the group were both Anko and Konohamaru. Both had large smiles plastered on their faces. The others merely smirked at their promotion. The Hokage then faked a cough to get their attention. The 6 straightened out and stood proudly as they listened to their Hokage. As you can see, all of you have been promoted. I personally vouched for each of you to be promoted and I firmly believe that all of you have what it takes to live up to your expectations. I know that all of you will exceed the expectations placed upon you as Chunin, Tokubetsu Jonin and as Jonin, he said. This may be troublesome, Naruto, but thanks, I guess, said the lazy Nara. Naruto merely rolled his eyes with amusement. He expected this kind of reaction from his friend. Still as lazy as ever, he thought to himself. Konohamaru also stood proudly. Thanks, boss, you won't regret this. I know I won't, Kono, replied the blonde man. Naruto then stood up and looked at each of them. All of you are now dismissed. But Kono and Shika, I need you two to stay here. The 6 nodded. Ibiki, Genma, Iwashi and Anko all left the office while the 2 youngest ninjas of the 6 stayed behind, as Naruto ordered. So why do you need us here, Naruto? Or should I say Hokage-sama, Shikamaru said with a smirk as he teased his old friend. Naruto groaned at the teasing of Shikamaru. I'm never going to get used to that, and you don't need to call me that. I'm too used to you calling me by my name. That goes for you as well, Kono. He then looked the two straight in the eye. I actually also called you two here for different reasons, both important though, he admitted as the two ninjas looked intrigued. Naruto looked at Shikamaru first before he spoke with his lazy friend. Shikamaru, as you know I am Hokage, and I admit I still have a lot to work on and honestly I'm learning as I go. This is why I need an advisor. You were the first person who came to mind when I thought about that, and to be honest I could think of nobody better. The young Nara groaned. He had been expecting something such as this from Naruto. He thought about the pros and cons of the position of Hokage's advisors. He admitted that he could truly help Konoha as an advisor to Naruto. Shikamaru sighed. I'm just not sure, Naruto, this position is just so troublesome? Naruto asked with a straight face before he gazed towards the newly promoted Jonin. Shikamaru, I know this job may be troublesome, but this is something both you and I must do. Asuma believed in you to protect the king, and this is the best way to do so without being Hokage. We're no longer carefree kids, Shikamaru. We can't skip class with Kiba and Choji anymore. Hell, I'm responsible for the whole village while you three are being groomed to lead your respective clans. We do not have the luxuries we used to have as kids. Shikamaru looked at Naruto slightly surprised. He thought about what he said and he realized the blonde man was right. He began to chuckle at his friend's explanation. Meanwhile, Konohamaru also looked at Naruto, surprised at the serious side he was showing. He was confused, however, when Shikamaru began to chuckle. What's so funny? Naruto asked. I never thought I'd see the day when you would convince me what was right from wrong. I never even thought I'd see you as mature as you were just then, he admitted as Naruto looked at his friend with a deadpan expression. So what'll be your answer, Shikamaru? He grumbled in an annoyed tone. As troublesome as this may be, I guess you were also right. Count me in, he said with a smirk on his face. Naruto grinned at the man and began to shake his hands. This is great, Shikamaru. I guess we could begin tomorrow as well. Shizun already agreed to be my assistant, and she will begin the same day as you, he said as Shikamaru nodded. Alright, Naruto. If that's all, then I guess I'll take my leave then. Naruto nodded. Sure, no problem. See you tomorrow and don't be late, he replied as Shikamaru left the office. Now Naruto diverted his attention to Konohamaru. The Hokage looked at the young Sarutobi sheepishly. Hey there, Kono, sorry about that. No worries, boss. Being Hokage is a busy job and I understand, he said with a smile that could rival Naruto's. So what did you need, boss? He asked. Naruto merely smiled proudly at his student as he patted him on the head. Konohamaru looked at his rival and boss in a surprised manner, and as he saw his face he noticed a look of pride coming from him. The same look his grandfather gave him when he was younger. I heard about your heroics during the invasion. From what I heard, you mastered what I thought you, Kono. I really am proud of you, he told him as Konohamaru began to blush at the praise. Arigato, Naruto Naiken, he told him as tears began to well in his eyes. He quickly lunged towards his older brother and cried on his chest. I was so scared, Nichan. I thought I was going to die. Naruto was surprised at the sudden contact. He hugged Konohamaru back. Naruto knew what it felt to fear death, and he was close to it many times. He guessed Konohamaru was new to the feeling, and so he did his best to comfort him. You're not going to die anytime soon, Konohamaru. Not as long as I can help it. I mean, who is going to replace me as Hokage one day? Konohamaru looked up at Naruto with a surprised expression. He wiped the tears of his face and stepped back from the hug. Konohamaru smiled back at his rival. You're right, Nichan. I won't die until I become the Nanadame Hokage, he told him with a renewed vigor. Naruto smiled at his younger counterpart. He walked over and ruffled his hair. I know you will be Hokage one day, Kono. I have complete faith in you. But for now you're still a Chunin. I also have a possible B-rank mission for you if you're interested. This will be your first mission as a Chunin, he said. Konohamaru then forgot about his tears. He suddenly began to jump excitedly at the prospect of a high-ranking mission worthy of his talents. Finally I get a mission worthy of me, so what's the mission? He asked with gleams in his eyes. Naruto chuckled at his reaction. He was reminded of himself when he was younger. He walked over to his desk and looked over the letters he wrote. He grabbed the one meant for Tazuna and handed it to Konohamaru. Kono, I need you to gather up your team and go to the Nami no Kuni. I need you four to deliver this letter to a man named Tazuna. He owns a building company. They were old friends of mine. When you give them the letter, I also want you to escort them back to Konoha and act as their protection. Are we clear? Konohamaru nodded. The smile stayed on his face. Crystal, he said confidently as Naruto nodded. Good, you're dismissed, Kono. Good luck, he said. Once Naruto was done talking with Konohamaru, Naruto waited patiently for Yamato to arrive in his office. After waiting a few minutes, the Mokuton user entered the office with a grin on his face. Naruto smiled at seeing his Jonin captain, Yamato Taisho, he greeted. Yamato shook his head amusingly. You don't need to call me Taicho anymore, Hokage-sama. You outrank me now, he said teasingly. Plus my name isn't really Yamato. It's actually Tenzo. Naruto was surprised for a second. Well, okay then, Tenzo, he said. Let's get back to business, Tenzo. I actually called you here to discuss the reconstruction of Konoha, explained the Hokage. Tenzo nodded and was slightly surprised at Naruto's sudden seriousness. During my council meeting we had to discuss this same topic, and during that time I recommended that you be the leader of the reconstruction project. This is for the best due to your Mokutan Kekkei Genkai, he said as he began to explain his whole plan to reconstruct Konoha to Yamato. Once Naruto finished explaining his overall plan to the former root member, he noticed a slightly surprised look at his former captain. Are we clear on that, Tenzo? He asked. Hi Hokage-sama. I will do my best to lead the current project, replied the Mokutan user. That's good. Now tell me, how long do you think it will take us to resurface the crater with the use of all our Earth users? Asked the Hokage as Tenzo placed his right hand on his chin to emulate a thinking pose. I would say it will take us roughly a week to fill up the crater, answered Yamato as Naruto nodded. Very good. I also called you here to inform you that I wrote letters to other leaders to seek help for our reconstruction. I will send the genin teams sometime later today, and I will update you on the matter. If all goes well, the reconstruction of Konoha could be achieved much quicker than most anticipated, explained the Hokage as Tenzo smiled at the good news. Well, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about, Tenzo. You're dismissed, said the young Hokage as Tenzo nodded. The Mokutan user then left the office, leaving Naruto and his clones. Once Yamato left his office, Naruto was left to his final duty for the day. He had to now send out genin teams of B-rank missions to either deliver important letters to world leaders or gather and purchase resources required for Konoha's restoration. He walked out of his office to the waiting room as he called the genin teams one by one, each of which were given a mission by Naruto. During this same time, Konohamaru was already informing his team about their mission. His teammates were surprised to say the least when they saw Konohamaru in his new Chunin uniform. Once they were broken out of their shock, the four quickly departed to Nami no Kuni in search of a drunk builder named Tazuna. Meanwhile, in the Hokage's office, Naruto sent out one genin team to Sunagekure to ask Naruto's friend the Kazekage for assistance for their repairs. Another team was sent to Yukigekure in order to deliver Naruto's letter to the famed Koiki Kazahana. Of course, the team was more than happy to partake in this mission. It wasn't every day you get the chance to meet a celebrity of her status. A third team was also sent out to deliver another letter. This time it was to Tori no Kuni's daimyo, Toki, another old friend of Naruto and the current ruler of the land. Once after he debriefed that team, another was also sent off on a mission, this time in search of Haruna, the daimyo of Na no Kuni. A fifth team was also given a similar mission. Theirs was to head over to Udan no Kuni to deliver Naruto's message to the daimyo of the land, Chikara. The sixth letter was sent to Shibuki, leader of Takigekure. The letter here was not only meant for help in the reconstruction effort. Due to Takigekure's vast resources, the team was also sent to purchase wood and metals to help the village's repairs. Next was the seventh letter. This time it was being sent to Amigekure to the new Amikage Konin. The team Naruto planned to send were more than nervous of their mission. This was due to Konin's role in the invasion of Pain, so instead of sending genin, Naruto decided to spare them from this ordeal. He instead sent an ANBU squad for him. The 5 ANBU members held no fear, unlike the genin team, and the ANBU members quickly made their way to Amigekure to seek help from the Amikage. Then finally, one last letter had to be delivered. This final letter was to Cheyenne, the priestess and leader of Oni no Kuni. He blushed as he remembered his encounter with her. He couldn't believe how dense he was back then when he had agreed to make babies with Cheyenne without even understanding what she truly meant. He recalled a somewhat similar experience with Koiki as well. He could only sigh at his past experiences with women. With them and Hinata, it only proved one thing about Naruto. He was as dense a rock, especially when it came to women. He shook his head of such thoughts. After he sent those genin teams away on those missions, he called for some more using the help of his ANBU. This time the genin teams called to the office in order to travel to various areas such as Kusagakure and Yugakure to purchase resources for the reconstruction effort. The teams nodded and quickly left to fulfill their missions. Naruto was now left alone in his office. Sensing that there was nothing else of importance for him to do, he continued to help his clones with the dreaded paperwork for the rest of the day. Unknown location. In a hidden base of the Akatsuki, Madara along with Team Taka patiently awaiting for the return of Kisame and Zetsu. After a few hours the two arrived in the base as well. Kisame grinned manically upon seeing Sasuke. He was reminded of his old partner Itachi. Sasuke, Karen and Yugo paid the shark-like man no mind. Sojetsu on the other hand salivated as he noticed the legendary Samahata behind his back. Upon seeing the whole group finally gather in the base, Madara faked a cough to gather their attention. The 6 noticed and all looked at the masked man as if awaiting orders. Good, all of you are here. Kisame, I called you back because we need you for a much more important mission. We need you to help us attack the 5 Kage summit and capture the Naruto brat. Are we clear on that? Crystal replied Kisame. He had no problem with that whatsoever. In fact, he was actually rather excited for the mission. It wasn't every day that you could attack all 5 of the Kages at once. He was full of excitement to finally test his skills against ninjas of his caliber. Good, we have a month to go before the summit begins, and so for the next month I need all of us in pristine condition. You will all stay here in our base to train and prepare for our attack. Understood? The 6 ninjas all nodded at Madara orders. Now any questions? He asked this time. This time nobody nodded their heads. Excellent. While you all stay here I must leave. Before we attack the summit I wish to recruit a member to our group. I believe he could be vital or our group, he explained to the group as the 6 of them looked at their leader with curiosity. Who do you plan on recruiting? Sasuke asked as he narrowed his eyes on the masked Uchiha in front of them. A man you and your team are all familiar with actually, Kabuto Yakushi, he said with a sinister smile. Sasuke glared at the man upon the mention of that name. The name Kabuto sent shivers down the spines of Karen and Suigetsu. The two groaned upon hearing of Akatsuki's plans on including that man's name. Oh Kami, anyone but that man. He gives me creeps as much as Orochimaru did, Suigetsu thought to himself. Not that freak. First I have to deal with the water bastard, now the snake freak as well. Kami probably hates me. I know it, Karen frantically thought to herself. Sasuke meanwhile had no problem with the choice. Though he did not like the man, he had to admit he was a powerful ninja and could be a valuable ally during their attack on the summit. Madara looked at the reactions of everyone. Nobody seemed to disagree except for Karen and Suigetsu. He decided to begin his search for the snake. Jana, he told everybody before vanishing using his space and time ninjutsu. Entrance of Konoha. The three Kumo ninjas Omoi, Samui and Karui all stand shocked in front of the destruction which laid before them. Samui, is this really Konoha? Asked the confused Omoi. Samui looked just as bewildered as her two teammates. I think it is Omoi. I mean, look at the Hokage monument, she said as she pointed to the mountain with the carved faces of the Hokages. What the hell happened here? Yelled Karui. I don't know, Karui. But we should probably head over to the Hokage's office now, replied Samui. Both Karui and Omoi nodded dumbly. The trio continued to walk up to the tower. As they walked around the ruins of Konoha, they couldn't help but wonder what had happened to Konoha. Before they arrived here, the five nations all acknowledged Konoha as the greatest power among them all. But now, as they walked around the crater now known as Konoha, they couldn't help but wonder what kind of power or attack could have led to such destruction. And now that Konoha was in this state, they also wondered who is now considered the most powerful nation from the five. As they made their way to the tower, the people of Konoha looked at them strangely. There were whispers, murmurs and rumors floating around concerning their presence. The trio paid them no mind. After a few minutes they arrived in the tower, and they were met by the tower's receptionist. The receptionist showed them the directions to the Hokage's office. As they climbed up the stairs where they were met by Shizen, the brunette then led them to the Hokage's office. She knocked into the front of the door and the four of them entered. Upon entering the office, the trio of Kumo ninjas had widened eyes as they saw the Hokage. He appeared to be a man their age, and he was accompanied by another man who looked just as young as he did. As Naruto sat in the chair, he raised an eyebrow at his three visitors. Shikamaru was beside him acting as his new advisor. The two of them were surprised that Kumo ninjas were in Konoha seeking an audience with them. Thanks Shizen, you're dismissed, Naruto told his new secretary. Shizen bowed and left the room, leaving the five ninjas alone. The trio still looked at him confused. They were expecting to see the famous Tsunade Senju as Hokage. Thinking it was some sort of practical joke, Karui got annoyed at the blonde young man in front of her. She marched to the front of the desk angrily before Samui and Omoi could stop her. She banged both her fists on the desk. Enough of this practical joke, brat. Where's the Hokage? He demanded. Naruto was surprised at the woman's ferocity. He clenched his fists to control his anger at how rudely the woman treated him. You're looking at him, he replied calmly. I'm in no mood for jokes, Whiskers. Where's Tsunade, the real Hokage? In the back, Shikamaru was sweating nervously as he noticed Naruto's facial features. His face was contorting to rage, an unbridled rage in fact. He hated being called Whiskers. He was as self-conscious about his whiskers as Choji was with his size. Naruto was looking at the woman in front of him with his mouth agape and with a tick mark forming in his forehead. Did you just call me Whiskers? He asked her. Karui rolled her eyes. I did just call you Whiskers. Whiskers, she boldly said. In the back, the two other ninjas were getting nervous. They believed that he may truly be the Hokage. Before Samui could apologize to the Hokage, Naruto began to flare his chakra. Naruto got annoyed at the Whisker remarks. He decided to scare the three ninjas in front of him. As he flared his chakra, the room around them vibrated and cracks were beginning to form on the floor. The air was even affected, asking it hard to breathe. The trio of Kumo ninjas began to sweat nervously. They have never experienced this amount of chakra before. Not even the Raikage or their sensei Killer Bee had this much. After a few more seconds, Naruto ceased his chakra. The three then fell on their knees, gasping for breath. Naruto looked back and saw Shikamaru in the same position. He offered the man a sheepish smile as an apology. He also noticed the room, and there were cracks around his floor and walls due to the density of his chakra. Naruto sighed at the damages he caused. He wasn't able to properly control his temper. He made a mental note to call for Yamato for repairs. He looked back at the three visitors. They were all disheveled from his chakra, and he noticed a look of fear coming from them. He smirked when he saw that nobody called him Whiskers and got away with it. So do you believe me now? He asked the three. Samui was the first to get up. She walked to the front of the desk and bowed respectfully to Naruto. Hokage-sama, my name is Samui, and I lead the three of us. I am a Jonin of Kumogakure, and my companions are both Chunin. The two of them are Omoi and Karui. I apologize on the behalf of my team, Hokage-sama. Please forgive my subordinate Karui for her rude remarks. Could we please all start over, Hokage-sama? She pleaded nervously. Naruto nodded and smiled at the blonde woman. All is forgiven, Samui-san. Just don't let it happen again. If I may be so bold as to ask, what had happened to Tsunade-sama? Samui asked. Naruto frowned. Unfortunately, as you just saw, we were attacked by Akatsuki recently and Tsunade-sama placed in a coma due to it. In the end I was chosen as her successor, he explained as the Kumo Jonin nodded. The two other Chunin in the room stayed silent in the back. They kept their mouths shut in fear of angering the Hokage. I see, for whatever it's worth we're sorry, Hokage-sama. Naruto nodded and smiled them. Thank you, Samui-san. But enough of the formalities, I suggest we get down to business. Why are you here in Konoha? It's about our common enemy Hokage-sama. The Akatsuki have attacked our sensei and the Raikage's brother, and they managed to capture him. He is the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi, explained Samui as Naruto and Shikamaru both looked at her, clearly shocked by the unfortunate news. Very well, I will help the best I can. We in Konoha have faced each of the Akatsuki members, at least from those we know of, and we have even managed to kill a few of them. Could you please tell me the members who attacked your sensei? He asked them as he grabbed the files on Akatsuki which were inside one of the drawers of his desk. We managed to identify only one of the members, Hokage-sama. All in all there were 4 of them. That's odd, Akatsuki always go only by pairs, Shikamaru interjected. I agree, every time we encountered Akatsuki they came by pairs. So who was the member you identified? Asked Naruto as his curiosity was growing by the second. We recognized him as a missing nin of Konoha, Hokage-sama, Samui said before breathing in a deep breath. It was Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto looked at her with widened eyes while his mouth was slightly agape. He flinched when he heard the name of his best friend mentioned with the likes of the Akatsuki. Shikamaru glanced towards Naruto to see his reaction, and he noticed Naruto attempting to hide his emotions, but only failing in doing so. What did you say? Are you certain it was him? He asked frantically as she continually nodded. Hi, Hokage-sama. He matched the description and he even used his Sharingan, she said. Naruto looked down on his desk, averting eye contact from the 3 Kumo ninjas. His mind and emotions were all over the place. He couldn't believe Sasuke had joined Akatsuki. It couldn't be the same Sasuke. But even though he continually attempted to deny it, in the back of his mind he knew they were speaking the truth. The Kumo ninjas and Shikamaru looked at Naruto worriedly. He hadn't spoken for at least a couple of minutes. Naruto shook his head after he realized that the 4 other people in the room were staring at him questionably. I'm sorry, Samui-san, but I can't help you with this. Karui then lost her temper once more. Why can't you help us? This is an urgent matter. If you say Akatsuki really did destroy your village, why can't you give us any information about them? Samui looked in the Chunin and hushed her. Karui, stop. We don't want to further anger the Hokage after your display earlier, she whispered to her, as she nodded reluctantly. Karui then looked back at Naruto and bowed before walking back to Oma. I apologize once more, Hokage-sama, but she is right. Why can't you tell us any information on the man? He clearly betrayed your village and attacked our sensei. He is a threat to us all, Samui told Naruto. I'm truly sorry, Samui-san, but there is nothing I could tell you. As you stated, he is a rogue ninja. He left the village 3 years ago for Orochimaru. All I could tell you is that he wields the Sharingan, and nothing more. We simply have not seen him in years and thus we lack any substantial knowledge on his strengths and weaknesses, Naruto lied coolly. Samui still looked hesitant to believe Naruto, but she was forced to at this point. Now, is there anything else, Samui-san? Samui nodded as she remembered the main purpose of their visit. Actually yes, Hokage-sama. The Raikage sent us here to inform you of a 5 Kage summit. He asked for you to be present in this event, and it is to take place within the end of the month in Tetsu no Kuni. The Tsuchikage, Kazekage, and the Mizukage have all accepted the invitation. All we're waiting for is for you. Naruto soaked in the information. He nodded at the 3 of them. Tell him I'll be there. Thank you, he told them. The 3 Kumo ninjas bowed before the Hokage respectfully. Samui thanked Naruto on their behalf and then the 3 left the office to return to their home. Their mission was complete. Once the 3 were gone, Naruto sighed at the revelation. He slumped at the news of his best friend. With his current emotions being a mess, he looked under the desk and opened the lowest drawer. Upon opening it, Naruto smiled as he found the sake Tsunade had left. Naruto went in to grab it, but before he got there he suddenly couldn't move his body. He had forgotten about his advisor's presence in the room. Usually I won't let you drink this early and on the job, but quite frankly after hearing the troublesome news I think I need a drink myself, Shikamaru admitted. He let go of his bind on Naruto and the blonde young man brought out the sake and 2 cups, one for each of them. We can't get too drunk, Naruto. We'll only drink a little. We cannot make this a habit, Shikamaru warned Naruto. The Hokage nodded and he prepared their drinks. Once the drinks were prepared, both of them quickly drank their first glass. What do you think about all this, Shikamaru? Honestly, first day on the job and it's already troublesome. If I was in your position, I believe it's time to forget about your promise. Sasuke has made his choice, Naruto. If I was you, I would have given them the information they needed. But then again, you're the Hokage and I'm just your advisor. The final decision will always be yours, he told him firmly. You don't understand, Shikamaru. Sasuke was like a brother to me. Sakura also loves him. I can't get in the way of her happiness. As much as I love her, she will always love the team. And as much as it hurts, I could still live with that, knowing that she's at least happy with him. Shikamaru sighed. I don't claim to understand, Naruto. I don't have the connection you, Sakura, and Sasuke have. All I'm saying is what I would do in your position, and what I would advise for you to do. So what are you going to do now? He asked calmly before drinking another cup of sake. Naruto shrugged. I don't know what to do. I guess I'll think over the situation and make a decision as soon as I can. I'm just too conflicted on the matter, he admitted sadly. No longer wanting to speak about this depressing topic, the two instead began to drink their problems away. But one thing nobody noticed was the ink mouse hidden in the dark corner of the room. Once the two began to drink, the mouse scurried on its way to return to the one who summoned it. As it ran out of the tower and into a tent, it quickly ran to the lone individual inside the tent. The lone individual was a pale and skinny young man. He grabbed the ink mouse and dropped it into a blank scroll. Soon the ink mouse turned into words which informed the man about the meeting which took place with the Hokage just earlier. The young man sighed. I'm sorry, Naruto. You and the rest of Team 7 have been good to me and you have been an invaluable friend. But I can no longer disobey Dannzo-sama, he thought to himself as his fingers grazed the new seal which adorned his forehead. He couldn't help but clench his fists in anger. He was being forced to betray his friends. His master was once again using him as a disposable weapon, but this time it was to be against a man who changed his life for the better. Unfortunately, though, with his current situation, he was unable to disobey his master's wishes, and so with a heavy heart Sai made his way back to Dannzo to inform the man of the upcoming summit meeting and of Sasuke Uchiha's involvement with the Akatsuki. 10 days has passed since the visit of the 3 Kumo ninjas. Since then, Naruto has been holed up in his office. Saying that Naruto did not take the news of Sasuke joining the Akatsuki well would be a major understatement. He had been overly stressed during the past week and he dedicated almost all his time working in his office to distract him from his current dilemma. He could not in his right mind think of any reason as to why Sasuke would join Akatsuki. He always thought that once Sasuke killed Itachi he would return to Konoha. But things do not always go how you wish them to go. During the past few days, Naruto also moved out of his personal tent and into the Hokage tower itself. He managed to change one of the vacant rooms in the tower into his own personal bedroom. As for the bathroom and kitchen, both were already available in different areas of the tower. Naruto practically lived in his workspace. He spent all his time working non-stop and the stress was getting to him. Not only was he worrying about Sasuke and Akatsuki, he was also anxious about the reconstruction of Konoha, the Jonin vote in a few months, and the upcoming 5 Kage Summit. News about the 5 Kage Summit was quick to spread. All of Konoha were aware of the upcoming meeting between the Kages. However, what the people of Konoha didn't know was the main reason for the summit meeting. Naturally, Naruto kept Sasuke's involvement with Akatsuki a secret for now. The capture of the Hachibi Jinchuriki was confidential in order to preserve Konoha's morale. It would be a massive blow for Konoha's citizens if they were to learn that as of now Akatsuki held 8 out of the 9-tailed beasts. However, there was some good news to go with the bad as well. During the past week, Konoha has managed to resurface the large crater left by Pain's attack. All the available Earth users of Konoha pitched in to help, and it made the process much more efficient. Since then, the construction of infrastructure has also begun. With Yamato's Mokutan abilities, he managed to instantaneously form a few houses, homes, and shelter for the people of Konoha. At this point in time, however, none of that resonated with Naruto. He was still in his office dedicating all of his time and energy towards continuing his non-stop completion of the dreaded paperwork. In the back of Naruto's seat was his advisor Shikamaru. The Nara was watching over him for the past week and had seen enough of this. He was getting worried about his friend. He was not used to seeing such a workaholic Naruto. He knew that the latest news about Sasuke really affected his friend, and it was about time he put a stop to this. Naruto called Shikamaru as he used his clan techniques to bind Naruto using his shadows. The Hokage ceased his writing since he couldn't move a muscle from the neck down. Instead, he turned to his advisor with an annoyed expression. Shikamaru winced slightly as he saw the blonde young man's baggy and bloodshot eyes. He knew from then on that Naruto was working himself too hard. Even he with his limitless energy needed rest and relaxation every now and again. What do you want, Shikamaru? He grumbled, clearly irritated by the intrusion. It was clear that he has not been in the best of moods ever since he learned of Sasuke's recent decision. The stress and work which came from his job didn't help either. Shikamaru remained calm despite Naruto's reaction. Listen, Naruto, I think enough is enough. You have been working for the past week with barely any breaks, and I'm pretty sure you have barely even slept since we learned of Sasuke's decision. Look, I know that the whole situation is troublesome. It's stressing me out as well, but it shouldn't affect you as much as it has. I'm not doing this for me, Naruto. I'm doing this for you. Me and Shizen and getting worried about you. What you're doing is not healthy, he explained calmly. Naruto could only sigh. He understood where Shikamaru and Shizen from and he was grateful for their concern. And he was more than aware of how the recent events really took a major toll on him and his well-being. He nodded reluctantly at his current predicament. He himself knew that what he was doing could not be good for him, but it served as a distraction, at least for a certain period of time. He was aware that he had to confront this problem one day. I'm sorry, Shikamaru. It's just that I'm in a rock and a hard place right now. I don't know what to do about Sasuke. He's my best friend and I made a promise to Sakura-chan to bring him back no matter what. And yet he also joined the organization which is out to get me, he said as he ran his calloused hand over his blonde hair. It's alright, Naruto. You and I are both stressed over the situation, but what you need now is for you to relax. Do something which doesn't include paperwork in the office. Kami knows you need it, replied the lazy Nara. Naruto obediently nodded his head. I guess you're right, Shikamaru, but what do you suggest I do? He asked his advisor. In turn, Shikamaru adopted a thinking pose. At the moment, options were limited due to the damage done by Pain's attack. Recreational areas such as the hot springs or the theater were destroyed during that attack. Suddenly Shikamaru remembered the reconstruction efforts done by Yamato and the people of Konoha. Why not train, Naruto? Ever since the crater was resurfaced, Yamato and the others have begun rebuilding certain areas of Konoha. In fact, they've built a few training grounds so far. One is even restricted as the training grounds for the Hokage, he advised to the blonde young man. I guess you could be right. Training does help me calm my nerves, Naruto mumbled lightly. How about this, Naruto? While you go and train, I'll call all of our friends and arrange a small get-together. Today is the grand reopening of Ichiraku's, just so you know. Aside from the training grounds, the reconstruction effort also rebuilt the ramen stand as a sign of gratefulness towards your actions, said Shikamaru with a victorious smirk on his face. He knew that he now had Naruto's attention. Naruto's eyes were now wide. He hadn't known that his favorite restaurant was reopening today. He had been too preoccupied with his work as the Hokage as of late. He looked towards his advisor with a smile on his face, a smile that he has lacked for the past week. Alright Shikamaru, you win, I'll go. So where is this training ground? He asked. Shikamaru's smirk widened. The training ground isn't that difficult to find, just look for the massive sign with the name Training Ground 1. This is the area reserved for your personal use. While you're away at the training grounds, I'll also call all our friends and reserve the ramen bar. It's time we catch up again. I'm sure the rest of the Konoha 11 will be happy to see the two of us again. Naruto nodded with a smile on his face. It was finally time for him to gain some much-needed time away from the office. He gathered his things and the storage scroll which contained the scrolls, books, documents, and files from the Konoha Archive Library, and quickly made his way to his brand new personal training ground. As Naruto explored the newly resurfaced Konoha, he was more than impressed with the efficiency of the reconstruction effort led by Yamato. Naruto continued to walk around. He basked in the Bear Village. At the moment, the village of Konoha was much like a blank canvas. The village could be reformed however Naruto saw fit. It showed that Konoha now begins anew. The village is given a fresh start away from its checkered past, and Naruto will be the one leading this next generation of Konoha. Naruto was soon broken from his thoughts as he noticed the training ground in front of him. There was a sign along the entrance showing that it was in fact Training Ground 1. The area was also placed with a large metal fence, and around the general area roads were also finally being built. The Hokage couldn't help but smile at the progression of Konoha's reconstruction. He then entered the training ground and Naruto whistled as he admired the large area around him. As he continued to explore the training ground, he realized it was practically based of the area he created his most powerful technique, the Raisin Shuriken. The training ground was somewhat like a new and improved version of his old personal grounds. It still contained the large waterfall in the middle of the forest clearing, but around the area there were also miniature streams and a small lake. It was also improved with the inclusion of target dummies and 3 replicas of the tree stumps from the original Team 7 training ground. Naruto was nostalgic as he walked to the tree trunks. He remembered better days when it was just him, Sakura, Kakashi, and Sasuke. Although he did respect and appreciate Yamato and Sai as well, he much preferred his days with the original team. The young blonde man chuckled slightly as he recalled his bell test. These may not have been the same tree trunks when he was a genin, but they were near exact replicas of the tree trunks where he was tied to during his bell test with Sasuke and Sakura. Those truly were better and simpler times for Team 7. He then walked away from the pieces of wood. He decided it was time to stop reminiscing about the past. He further explored the large training grounds. One thing was for sure though concerning Training Ground 1, it was not lacking in forestation. The area was covered with trees of all sorts. Yamato really took the time and effort to make this training ground as functional and beautiful as possible. As Naruto continued exploring the large training ground, he noticed that in a secluded area of the training ground there was even a medium-sized Shinto temple which was surrounded by sakura trees and built on a portion of land surrounded by a small body of water, and a red wooden bridge connected that isolated land to the whole training ground. He walked across the bridge towards the temple. He noticed the intricate designs, and as he walked closer to the temple itself he noticed that as per custom a pair of animal statues guarded the entrance towards the temple. From the previous temples he's seen they have commonly been dogs, but for this particular temple it was decorated with porcelain foxes. Another thing Naruto admired was the cherry blossom trees surrounding him. They truly were beautiful to him, much like their namesake. All in all, the whole training ground was perfect. It truly was an area fit for a Hokage. The Shinto temple proved to be a calm and relaxing environment. It serves as a place of serenity and peace suitable for concentration, a perfect area for Naruto's meditations, while on the other hand the rest of the area were more than suitable to help Naruto with his ninjutsu training. Naruto had to personally thank Yamato for this training ground. It was absolutely flawless. He soon returned to the forest clearing where the waterfall was located. Now that he was done exploring, it was finally time to begin his training. Upon arriving to his desired area within the training grounds, he suddenly formed a familiar hand sign. Naruto gathered his chakra and began to form 500 total clones. Once they were formed, they began to arrange themselves into 5 groups, all of them containing 100 clones each. Once the groups were all formed, them were each given one task to focus on for training, and they each made their way to separate areas of the training ground to focus on their given task. From the 5 groups, the first was tasked with mastering the Rasengan alongside its variations without the need for clones to form the jutsu. This group of clones were handed the Yandame's notes on the Rasengan from the large storage scroll Naruto brought along with him. The following group of clones were in charge of wind manipulation. They were given the jutsu scrolls for wind techniques. This set of clones also made their way to a private location where they could train their wind manipulation in private. Next was the third group of clones. This time they were to focus on Naruto's chakra control. This group of clones took advantage of the areas around them. Some used the trees, water, and even the waterfall itself to improve Naruto's chakra control. A fourth group of clones were also dedicated the files he acquired concerning the reigns of the past regimes. For the past 10 days aside from paperwork, he also dedicated his time to focus on these. And during that time he managed to learn and understand the trials and tribulations of the first two leaders of the village. From what he had read, he realized one thing: the Naruto Hokage was nothing short of a genius. With his contributions and ideas such as the ANBU system, the Uchiha police force, and the Ninja Academy, Tobirama Senju was truly a great and wise leader for Konoha. At this point in time he was now beginning to read about the reign of the Sandaime Hokage, naturally due to his reign being the longest among the 5 previous Hokages. The Sandaime's files clearly towered over those of the Shodai, Nidaime, Yandaime, and Godaime. Naruto knew that it was going to take him a long time before he manages to completely understand the arduous reign of the man he considered as a grandfather figure in his life. But that did not deter Naruto from his goals. That certain group of clones then grabbed the files of the past Hokages and went ahead to station themselves around the Shinto temple. There the clones will study in peace, without any form of distraction. Then there was the fifth and final group of clones. They were given the rest of the storage scroll and they were tasked with learning the supplemental jutsus that Naruto managed to find during his visit to the Konoha Archive Library. The supplemental jutsus consisted of the likes of Fuin Jutsu, Shuriken Jutsu, Space and Time Ninjutsu, Barrier Ninjutsu, and Clone Jutsu. Once the clones all scattered to their designated areas, Naruto breathed out a sigh of relief. He was more than grateful for Kakashi's advice concerning this form of training. This could make his goal to surpass his predecessors much easier. When the clones all left the area, Naruto weaved through another set of hand seals and soon he summoned Fukasaku once more. "Hello again, Fukasaku-sama," Naruto said while bowing respectfully to the Toad Sage. The elderly Toad smiled at the Hokage. "Naruto-chan, it's good to see you again. Is there anything you need?" he asked. Naruto nodded his head. "Actually, Fukasaku-sama, I was hoping to ask for your help in training," he confessed. "Do you even need to ask, Naruto-chan? I am more than happy to help you with your training." "So what is it you need help with? And what else you are training in at the moment?" he inquired. Naruto smiled at the elderly Toad. "Arigato, Fukasaku-sama. I wish to be further trained in taijutsu and in senjutsu. Currently I also have clones working on wind manipulation, chakra control, the Rasengan, space and time ninjutsu, Fuin Jutsu, barrier ninjutsu, shuriken jutsu and clone techniques," he answered. Fukasaku nodded in understanding. "I understand, Naruto-chan. Before we begin I must return to Mount Myaboku for equipment we will use in this training. While I'm away I suggest for you to go ahead and gather nature chakra," he explained. Naruto nodded in understanding as he went into a meditative. As he did this, Fukasaku returned to his home to gather the required equipment. Naruto continued meditating for 10 minutes. Soon after there was a plume of smoke and in it appeared Fukasaku. The elderly Toad also brought his own storage scroll and it were the items he brought with him for Naruto's training. Naruto opened his eyes and the orange pigmentation around it showed that Naruto was now in sage mode. He was prepared for the training ahead of him. "I believe it's time for us to begin, Naruto-chan," said the elderly Toad. "I agree. So what did you bring back for our training?" curiously asked by the blonde young man. Fukasaku handed the storage scroll to Naruto. Inside are other notes and scrolls left by Jiraiya and Minato. The two of them were masters in Fuin Jutsu and barrier ninjutsu, while your father was also a genius when it came to space and time ninjutsu. I'm sure the scrolls inside could help you and your clones with their training," he explained. Naruto smiled. He knew that this really would come in handy for him in the long run. "I also placed a few other scrolls inside. I thought seeing as how you are the new Toad Sage you will be interested in learning to master senjutsu techniques and Toad-based techniques, such as the ones Jiraiya used," he further explained. Naruto nodded. "Arigato, Fukasaku-sama. I'm sure these will all be useful for me in my growth as a ninja," he replied in a respectful and grateful tone. Fukasaku smiled at the respect he was being shown by the young man. He had truly grown up in such a short amount of time. Seeing as how he was now tasked with leading a whole village, he clearly had to grow up quicker than most. "Before we begin though, Naruto-chan, I believe I have a training method which could help you improve your speed, stamina, strength and overall physical fitness. This will also help you improve your taijutsu," said Fukasaku as he handed Naruto a pair of chakra weights. Naruto was surprised as he noticed the items being handed to him. He realized it was just like the weights Lee used during the Chunin exams. "This is a pair of chakra weights, Naruto-chan. If you apply more chakra into it the weight will increase, and vice versa. Try it on now and tell me what you think." Naruto placed the weights on his ankles and on his wrists. He sensed that the current weight on him lacked the resistance he would have wished, so he pumped chakra into it to further increase the weight. Once it reached the desired weight, Naruto smiled. "I think this could really help me. If Lee was able to be as fast and strong as he was with this training method, I'm sure I can as well." "So shall we begin, Fukasaku-sama?" he asked. Fukasaku nodded with a small grin on his face. The two then began to go to their respective frog kata stance. Once they were prepared, both Toad sages lunged towards each other to begin their taijutsu training. Hours soon passed and Naruto was panting. The young man was out of breath. The training session he has had was truly grueling and arduous. But despite the difficulty of the training, he knew full well that the fruits of his labor will one day benefit him. Naruto noticed that setting sun and he realized that it was time for him to return to the Hokage Tower to prepare for his small party at Ichiraku's ramen. For Naruto, there was no better way to reward a day of hard work than with good old ramen. The young Hokage then stood up from the grass. His clones were dispelled earlier on, and he managed to gain the knowledge from their training. Fukasaku also left earlier on once the two finished their taijutsu and fitness training. He then began to walk over to the tower, and while on the way there he was once again greeted by the people of Konoha. Once he arrived back in the tower, he quickly made his way to the shower. He didn't want to be sweaty and smelly when he met up with his friends. After the long shower, he changed into another set of his usual clothes. Then he walked over to his office where he was met by Shikamaru. "It seems you're back. I take it you enjoyed yourself," he said with a smirk on his face. Naruto smiled at his advisor and nodded in confirmation. "You got that right, Shikamaru. I really needed that training session. I managed to release my pent-up frustration and stress during my taijutsu spar with Fukasaku," he replied. Shikamaru nodded. "So are you ready for tonight?" he asked. "Of course I am," Naruto replied confidently. "Well then let's go," said Shikamaru. Naruto nodded as the two began to walk over to the ramen bar. Shikamaru was leading Naruto since he was unaware as to where the ramen bar was built. After 5 minutes they finally arrived in their destination and Naruto was surprised with what he saw. In front of him was a new and improved Ichiraku's. It was no longer just a small ramen stand. Now it was the size of a normal restaurant. The two entered the establishment, and upon entering the two noticed all their friends already there mingling with one another. Naruto also noticed that Ichiraku's interior design was now also larger than the previous establishment, and it also had the capacity to hold a larger amount of people. Naruto was brought out from his thoughts when he noticed the rest of the Konoha 11 approaching them. Naruto smiled at his group of friends. It has been some time since they all last saw each other. In fact, the only one of the group he has seen for the last 10 days was his advisor Shikamaru. "Hey everyone, they're here," joyfully yelled Choji. The ninjas all looked towards the entrance, and they were glad to see the arrival of their two friends. Naruto and Shikamaru were then surrounded by most of the Konoha 11. The large group of teen ninjas then went on to bombard Naruto and Shikamaru with either questions or congratulatory greetings. While Naruto did his best to answer as much questions as he can, he also began to scan the room to see who was present in this somewhat large get-together. He noticed that aside from the Konoha 11, also present in the event were their former teachers. In the back of the restaurant, Kakashi, Guy, Yamato, Iruka and the clearly pregnant Kurenai were watching as the younger generation interacted with one another. Also in the back were Sakura and Hinata. The two young ladies didn't mob Naruto as the rest of their friends did. Instead, they watched happily as Naruto caught up with their former classmates and upperclassmen. Naruto noticed that there was one strange omission. Sai was nowhere to be seen, and he wondered where the young pale man could be. He and Sai may not have known each for that long, and his initial meeting with Sai may not have been pleasant, but he still considered him as a part of Team 7 nonetheless. The interactions continued for a few more minutes. After a while, Naruto managed to sneak past the group and finally order his ramen. "I am Nichin. One pork ramen please," he exclaimed joyfully. I am smiled. Despite Naruto being the Hokage now, he still had a boyish enthusiasm when it came to ramen. "Coming right up, Hokage-sama," she replied teasingly. Naruto smiled as he went on to sit down on one of the available tables. As soon as he sat down, he noticed one person approaching him. When he gazed upon the individual, he saw that it was his sensei, Kakashi Hatake. The gray-haired Jonin sat on the seat opposite of Naruto's. "Hey Kakashi-sensei," Naruto greeted enthusiastically. "Good to see you, Naruto. It seems congratulations are in order," he replied proudly. "You always seem to surprise me more and more, Naruto, and this is no exception." Naruto smiled at the strange praise he given by his sensei. "Arigato Kakashi-sensei," he said. The two men were then noticed another person approaching them. The two smiled as they noticed the third member of their team arriving. The pink-haired medic Sakura Haruno walked towards their booth and sat on the chair next to Naruto. "Hey Sakura-chan," Naruto exclaimed happily. Sakura smiled sweetly at the two men. She was happy to see Naruto after quite a long time. Her happy expression quickly then turned into a small scowl. As she approached Naruto, she lightly bonked him on the head. Naruto gave a slight grimace of pain due to the hit by Sakura. He looked towards the pink-haired Kunoichi. "Sakura-chan, what was that for?" he moaned. "That was for avoiding all of us. I mean, it's been 10 days, Naruto, and from what I heard from Shikamaru, you've been held up in your office. I mean, that's unhealthy even for you. Stop being an idiot and realize that you can't do it all alone, and you cannot overexert yourself. I mean, even you need rest once in a while. You can't go on all day every day working. Not even Tsunade Shursho was like that," she said in a concerned and angry tone. While Sakura scolded Naruto, Kakashi watched in amusement at the interaction of his two students. Despite Naruto being the Hokage and strongest ninja in Konoha now, he was still intimidated and scared when it came to Sakura. Kakashi couldn't blame him though. Sakura was downright scary when she wanted to be. On the other hand, Naruto was holding his head in pain. The petite Kunoichi really packed a punch, and with her temper she was a force to be reckoned with. But despite the hit he took, he knew that this was just her way of showing her concern. This is when Naruto realizes that she really does care for him. Behind her tough exterior was a kind and caring young woman. As Sakura continued to scold Naruto, Kakashi decided it was time to intervene. That's enough, Sakura. I think he's learned his lesson. Besides, he is our superior now, he said calmly. Sakura nodded and huffed indignantly before sitting down on the seat beside them. I've actually been meaning to talk to the both of you, and since the two of you are here, I think it's that there is no better time than now, Kakashi said in a serious tone. Both Naruto and Sakura stopped their actions. They were surprised by the sudden serious and somber tone used by their sensei. What's up, Kakashi-sensei? Asked Naruto. Kakashi sighed. I've been meaning to say this for some time to the two of you. I'm sorry, he said. Naruto and Sakura were surprised at their sensei's apology. Truth be told, they were also confused as to why he had to apologize to the two of them. Why are you apologizing, Kakashi-sensei? You've done nothing wrong, Naruto replied. Sakura nodded in agreement. Both were slightly worried about their sensei. For the time that they have known him, they have never really seen Kakashi in such a dark mood. I have done many things in my life which I regret, but this regret is for something I did not do, explained the gray-haired Jonin. His two students remained quiet in order to allow Kakashi to explain his regret to them. Naruto, when I saw you chosen as Hokage, I was extremely proud of you, but when I saw that, I realized that I had no part in that. Both you and Sakura have grown to be fine ninjas, and I have to say that it was because of both Jiraiya-sama and Tsunade-sama, he confessed sadly. Naruto's eyes were slightly widened at the confession of his sensei. He had no expected something such as this from Kakashi. Sakura was on the same boat as Naruto. She was just as confused and surprised at seeing this emotional side of their sensei. I remember our time as Team 7 back when it was just you two, me and Sasuke. I vividly remember those days, and even then I neglected the two of you. I focused all of my attention on Sasuke. I admit a part of it was because of a promise I made to a friend, but also another part of it was because how much of myself I saw in Sasuke. When I was young, I was exactly like Sasuke. In fact, my previous team acted like the three of you, he said as he reminisced about his complicated past as a part of Team Minato with Obito and Rin. Look, you two, I'm not here to make excuses. I came here to confess my failures as a sensei, and for that I am sorry. If I could go back in time to correct my mistakes, then I would. I've had many regrets in my life, and this is one of them. I never truly became the teacher I should have been to the two of you, he continued in a sad tone. Enough, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said. Both Sakura and Kakashi looked at Naruto, surprised at the small outburst. They also looked around the room, and they were grateful that nobody seemed to pay much attention to their conversation and Naruto's outburst. Their friends just continued mingling and catching up with one another. You have nothing to apologize for, Kakashi-sensei. Even though in terms of ninjutsu we didn't learn much from you, what we did learn were values and beliefs which made us who we are today, Naruto said seriously, which surprised both Kakashi and Sakura. The pink-haired Kunoichi was more surprised due to Naruto's eloquence. Naruto, please, do not make excuses on my behalf. I mean, I only taught you two tree walking during our first months together, and even after that I only focused on Sasuke. I taught him the technique he used against you for Kami's sake, Naruto. I know I failed, and you two have the right to be angry with me. Frankly, I wouldn't hold it against the two of you, he said, but Naruto was having none of it. Kakashi-sensei, you give yourself too little credit. You were a good teacher to us. You taught us life lessons such as never abandoning a comrade. You taught us teamwork and the importance of comradeship. And without you, Kakashi-sensei, I never would have learned wind manipulation or even how to form the Raisin Shuriken. You are part of the reason I am Hokage, Kakashi-sensei. I have you, Iruka-sensei and Jiraiya-sensei to thank for my growth as both a man and as a ninja. Kakashi stared at Naruto. He couldn't believe that even despite all of that he forgave him. And not only that, he made him see the best in himself. Yeah, Naruto's right, Kakashi-sensei. Nobody's perfect, and everyone made mistakes. But unlike others, you at least confronted your mistakes, and you are doing your best to make up for them. That's more than I could say for others, she added on. Kakashi smiled at his two students. Arigato, Naruto. Arigato, Sakura. I am honored to be known as your teacher, and even though I made my mistakes, I swear I will make up for them. From now on, if you ever need training, do not hesitate to call me. I will help you out without a moment's hesitation. Naruto and Sakura also smiled back at their sensei. From the tone of Kakashi's voice, they knew that he was serious about making it up to the two of them. Kakashi-sensei, both me and Sakura are also proud to have you as our Jonin-sensei. We wouldn't have it any other way. The gray-haired Jonin simply chuckled at his two students. The two of them truly grew up from being the two cute genin to well-respected ninjas of Konoha. Could I ask you a question, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto said. You just did, replied Kakashi with a smirk underneath his face mask. Naruto rolled his eyes at his sensei's dry comeback. What was your original genin team like? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. I understand. For Kakashi, memories of his old genin team brought him a lot of pain. It also brought him fond memories of his earlier days. It's alright, Naruto. I guess it's time for me to share my past with the two of you. Kakashi then adopted a thinking pose before continuing. Well, first of all, my team consisted of me, Obito Uchiha, and Rin Noara. As you both already know, I was a lot like Sasuke when I was a kid. I was proclaimed as a genius growing up. In fact, I was named a Jonin when I was 13. For most of my life I was bitter, and I was angry at the world and at my father. My mother died when I was young, and so for the first few years of my life I was raised by my father. Tsukumo Hatake, the white fang of the leaf, he explained. Naruto looked at his sensei with a newfound respect. Jonin at 13. Man, Kakashi-sensei must have been badass when he was a kid, he silently thought to himself with admiration towards the Jonin right in front of him. Sakura shared more or less the same thought as Naruto. She too couldn't believe how quickly their sensei made Jonin. But unlike Naruto, she was also surprised to hear the name of their sensei's father. Tsukumo Hatake was a man known to be as strong as the Sannin. He had chapters dedicated to his accomplishments in the Academy's old history textbooks. Early on though, when I was 5, my father committed seppuku. He risked the success of one of the missions to save a comrade's life, and ever since then he was ridiculed and disgraced by the people of Konoha. And because of that he took his own life. For most of my life I was angry at the man. Everything I did was so that I could surpass him. I hated being associated with my father. It was just like Sasuke with his brother Itachi. But unlike Sasuke and Itachi, I found peace. When I was young I loathed my father, but now I respect him. He was a true hero of Konoha. Naruto and Sakura smiled at their sensei. His relationship with his father sounded extremely complicated, but at least the man found peace. Kakashi then continued his story about him and his 2 teammates. As for Obito, he was a lot like you, Naruto, and even though he was an Uchiha, he was never the typical Uchiha. Obito was always energetic, righteous, and overly optimistic, and both of you also share the same dream to be Hokage. I'm glad you managed to achieve it, he said with a smile. Another thing about Obito was that he was always late for meetings and missions. At first me and him hated each other. We saw each other as rivals and we would always compete with one another. I always won our competitions though, Kakashi said. So that's why you're always late, Naruto? And Sakura simultaneously said. Kakashi nodded in confirmation. But despite our conflicts in the past, I owe him my life. He saved me from dying and from darkness. He taught me never to abandon a comrade. And he even bestowed me his eye before he died, Kakashi explained with a disheartened look on his face. How did he die? I was knocked out at the time and boulders were about to crush me. Before I was about to die, Obito threw me out of the way and sacrificed his life to save mine. Half his body was crushed by the boulder and I couldn't do anything to save him. Before he died, he entrusted me with his Sharingan, and he also entrusted me to protect Rin, Kakashi answered in a solemn tone. Naruto and Sakura were saddened by the outcome of Obito's life. Sakura inwardly wished and prayed that Naruto will avoid having the same fate as Obito. While Obito resembled Naruto, Rin was a lot like Sakura, continued Kakashi. His 2 students were broken from their thoughts as they directed their attention to their sensei. Rin was very studious, and she was a very kind and caring woman. But thankfully she didn't have Sakura's monstrous strength and temper, Kakashi said jokingly. Naruto gulped in fear at the words his sensei muttered about their teammate.